This video is sponsored by the Design Mechanism, the makers of Mythras. Mythras is a registered trademark of the Design Mechanism Inc., used with permission. All rights reserved. Hello. We are. Do you know? I've just looked at Roll20 and thought something was wrong with Mr. Bartleby's icon, but then I suddenly remembered he's wearing his mask. Right? Are you? Can somebody talk?
He doesn't have it on. Oh, yes, he does. I was looking at this for...
And do you want to know? I realised I worked out why Firefox wasn't working last week. Because they had put hardware acceleration on.
So it wasn't Clint Eastwood's fault.
No, and if you have hardware
Firefox.
Firefox, yeah, thank you.
If you have hardware acceleration on, then it just doesn't either in Chrome or anything. OBS doesn't pick it up at all. You have to turn it off. So I just did that just before we came live. So hi everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of the role-playing game Mythras. You've joined us at a very exciting time because the party are descending underground into what appears to be an ash-filled volcanic erupted town or village or something.
Blake picks up the Undercity.
A1.
It's the Underhive.
And they just started to go down at where we finished last week. So before I give you a quick synopsis of what's going to happen, or what did happen, I am going to take my headphones off and listen to their audio levels to make sure they're loud enough while the players introduce who they are and who they will be playing tonight. Off you go.
Hi guys, I'm Chugwooker. The character that I play is called Gully, or Gulliver, whose full name is. He is the youngest member of the party, probably also the smallest, the weakest. He's not very strong. His constitution is lacking, but he more than makes up for it with intelligence and willpower. His mind is very strong, and because of that, he is a magic user, a sorcerer of the Order of the Kraken, which is one of the 4 sorcery orders on Odys. The Order of the Kraken, which is the blue order, specializes in spells mainly involving around communication, transportation, and teleportation. He also has literacy, so he is one of the members of the party that can read and write. He's also very good at judging people and talking them into doing what he wants them doing. People don't take him as a threat, and he can use that to his advantage. He can use his boyish charms to get what he wants. And with that, I shall pass on to Longshanks EPG.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chugawugga. Hi guys, I'm Longshanks EPG, and as always, I play the character Hengist. He is the group's fighter, warrior, and tin of metal, because he wears a suit of iron plate armor that encases his body fully. This armor is beautifully enameled in green, and it's got sort of like rearing horses on it, protects his family crest. So he looks kind of like, oh my god, there's an amazing knight over there type thing. But that doesn't happen at all. People mainly just look at him and go, he smells of armor polish. keeping away from him. He's been with the group for a long time now, and he's currently on the same quest that he has been. It's save the world, save the priest, save the world, and don't let the evil chaos sorcerer lady win. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Medivac because he would look away at the wrong moment.
I know. Thank you. I'm Medivac, everyone, and I play Hashra Khan. He's a group scout, tracker, survivalist in a sense. He wears linen armor, which is like pads over him in a sense. It's like a pajamas really, but quilted pajamas. He likes to use a scimitar and a short spear in combat. He's quite agile. He's lacking in the willpower department. So because he's never had to really rely on his willpower, he's relied on his cunning and his dexterity. And now he's following this group who he's been in with for a while now, and he wants to keep them all alive. So the most important person of the group is Bartleby, who he is trying to save because Bartleby has been cursed. You'll hear about soon. He doesn't like it. He likes Gulliver. He doesn't like what Gulliver does to him. He's very, what's the word? Yeah, he gets very upset when Gulliver kind of grabs him from one place and then puts him in another place. He doesn't like it. It's not good. It's not friendly. But Gulliver did save his life using that trick the other week, which you can watch. It's very, very good. And with that, I shall pass before I start rambling on to Mr. Pickles.
And I am Mr. Pickles. I play Bartleby Fumus, our team's resident theist. He serves the white moon goddess Amriel. There's another moon god, but Bartleby isn't as attached to him, Maroth, I believe. Bartleby serves Amriel, who allows him to work miracles through her grace and power. A lot of healing, bringing wounds back together, taking out disease and poison from those who are afflicted. I believe Bartleby spends a lot of his time in Lindo trying to help the impoverished and those who are injured and sick as best he can. But he can also do other things, such as call on Amriel to make a shield of power to prevent attacks from going through, or just a quick overall protection. Bartleby has a lot of miracles and some quick prayers that he can cast through his goddess. But other than that, he's also the team's expert on goblins and other monsters, but there's none the goblins are the big thing. They're the cool ones. He knows a lot about history and is more than happy to share information about the land as we travel. And currently he is afflicted because he decided to put on a bracelet when we went dungeon diving one time, and now it won't come off. Then we found a mask, and Bartleby thought I should put this on too, and now it won't come off. There's a third piece in this puzzle that'll make everything come off, and we'll be able to summon a dragon named Cassini, but that third part is on a beautiful lady's neck, and I don't know if it'll come off, and I'm in love.
In love? How romantic. Right, let me just do that. I presume you're passing back on to me now.
Yes.
Yes, excellent. So the party are in hot pursuit of two...
Catch the pigeon.
Not hot potatoes.
They're in hot pursuit of two strange scholars that are heading off to try to enter the temple of the Chaos Mother and probably summon forth something that is not very nice. The party have encountered something to do with it, and I've read stories in books. The Chaos Mother manifests itself as a huge arachnid that can actually spin web through time and space and comes down to the earth, onto the continent of Odes to wreak havoc and destruction and death. And the party were hired quite a while back, and throughout the time they have done a range of things, including encountering a brothel, killing the giant Zuktuk to help a barbarian tribe, and releasing or letting go a whole load of miners, supporting and helping a wounded miner, and then descending down through a tower, a bell tower, to the dark and dismal and very scary underground, where they assume that they know several troops went down, and probably the two shady scholars as well, and they headed down there at the last adventure, and they ended up in a rather spooky position. I'm just going to move the party over to it, and then I will zoom you in. Now, the first thing that I have to say at this point is that if you're watching the stream, the players are not watching the stream, so they can't see what we can see at the moment. So if you are watching the stream, please do not give them any hints. What they see, if I just sort of like zoom in on one of the character and become Bartleby here, this is what they see. Okay, that's all they see. So Bartleby has a lantern, I think it is. Is that
No,
right?
a candle.
A candle, and this is what Hengist sees here. And they descended down the bell shaft, and Hengist and Bartleby are down there, and at the top remains Hazra and Gulliver. And yeah, so that's all they can see at the moment. They can't see that huge pit directly in front of them or anything like that. So they're quite alone at the moment. And we ended the last adventure, I think, being in the eyes and ears of Hengist and Bartleby. When you got down there, you rolled your perception rolls, and you were greeted with absolutely deathly silence, and that was it. I think that's where we left it. So does anybody have anything else to ask before we start off today's session?
Is there an elevator?
I don't.
No.
Just to confirm, I think last time I had my sword and shield out and equipped,
Yeah.
but I just want to make sure that's okay.
That's absolutely fine. And Bartleby's, you notice, Hengist, that the candlelight is flickering slightly, and initially you just sort of like think that this is the flame dancing in the breeze, but then you suddenly, a quick glance behind reveals that it's not the flame that's flickering, it's the whole candle, as Bartleby is just sort of like who is not happy to be down here at all. This is definitely, Bartleby, not your favourite place in the world at the moment. Now, you've got a piece of rope that is tied off, etc., etc. And rather than to spend the next half an hour figuring out going up and down and where we're going to tie it off, etc., what's the plan to get Hazra and Gulliver down to thing? Have you guys thought about that?
Well, my theory was to tie my rope around Gulliver's waist while he climbs down the rope.
Yeah.
And then hopefully Hengist would be holding Mr. Bartleby with his hand on the rope so Gulliver knows when to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And then he could get after that, would just climb down and follow.
Okay then. Yeah, the only thing that which is a bit dangerous if you climb down, is that you will require an athletics roll. And if you fail that athletics roll, then you will plummet and take 4d6s worth of damage to your legs, or so.
Can I just refresh my luck points 1 second?
Yeah. Did you come up, because I know that Hengist and Bartleby, you guys didn't actually climb down, didn't you?
No, we were lowered.
You were lowered.
Did we load Bartleby down with a second rope then?
Yeah, there's like you made a loop and I put my foot in it
That's
and then
right.
held on. really
In
tightly.
which case, we'll bring that same rope back up, and I'll put Gulliver in the same position and lower him down, so he
Okay,
can hold
then.
onto the main rope down to the point where he can step off, and I will just climb down the last rope.
Okay, so you're quite happy just to climb down the last rope and
I'm quite good at climbing, so
okay,
yeah.
cool then. So let me just move because it's rather crowded down here at the moment.
No, I can't see anything.
You should be able to now, Gulliver.
I just got a black.
I am black as well, but it's a coal miner in
Hang
his
on.
natural habitat.
Hang on. Gulliver, can you see anything yet?
I can now see it. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay then. So Hazra, being super duper at climbing, let me just get my slash roll
I
for
jinxed it already, haven't
D6 in preparation.
So I'm going to attach some springs to my feet.
Yeah.
Okay. So what Hazard will do before he gets onto the rope, he'll put his spear down between his sash on his back so he doesn't drop it. So it's in his little sash that goes on his waist. He'll get on and he'll climb down with a wonderful roll.
Cool. Roll away.
That's pretty damn good.
That is pretty damn good, I must admit. Just to let you know, I was thinking about the situation because I like to sort of like, if you don't come up with an idea, to try to think how I would actually do it. And my solution would have been to use the bar at the top. And so
that was mine, to have a rope going over it.
Yeah.
And lower it down.
And
yeah.
so the last person would just put their foot in the rope, and then the people down in the corridor could lower them down, so nobody would need. Right.
Hazard literally steps into the air, grabs the rope, slides down, grips his hand tightly, and then steps into the corridor at the bottom.
Okay, so I'm just making sure that you're all on and that you all can see. Let me just check that now. Yeah, I think you could all.
I was going to get Hazard to hold the lantern up at the top as well, and I was going to summon it down so that we had light.
Well, you could probably set up a whole. You could probably do that with one of the pulleys before Hazard actually comes down. So I wouldn't think. How much is your lantern, Gulliver? How much would the lantern actually cascade out?
I don't have it. Hazard has the lanterns, I think.
Yeah, I have a lantern. Let me just double check.
So I just need to know who will actually be holding it, so I can actually.
I don't have a lantern anymore. I must have lost it at some point. I have torches, so I will give a torch to Gulliver.
And what's the light on that torch?
We don't have any. It doesn't give you. I checked in the rule book to see whether or not it actually gave a. It does hours, but what it does.
A radius, yeah.
Okay then, so we can revert to Dungeons and Dragons rules. Oh, I've just remembered what I don't have.
Dungeons and Dragons rules.
No, I
GM
no,
screen.
well, in a sense, the GM screen, because I don't have all my I have the one screen has all the game on, but on my other screen I have things like the combat action
wing it
chart. I also have things like combat effects, things like that. Things like
do your best guess.
Yeah, I'm just because the other thing is, when I first set this game up, it's in a folder called RuneQuest, which always confuses me because it's just like, because initially it was going to be RuneQuest, and because of course it was RuneQuest 6 at that point. Right, yeah. And the other thing I have on here is that I have my now, if I remember, and please correct me if I'm wrong, did a torch have a radius of 60 foot? Light?
I believe it did.
Yeah, which is about 18 meters. So, oh, bing, what's that? Thank you for the follow, our expert. Who's got the torch?
I'd be happy to take the torch.
20-foot radius.
Say again,
And
sorry.
an additional dim light for an additional 20 foot.
What's that? Sorry.
A torch burns for 1 hour, providing bright light in a 20-foot radius and dim light for an additional 20 foot.
So 40 foot in total then.
Yeah.
And then 40 foot, so that's 12, so that's 6 and 6. Okay, then.
Yeah.
That is...
But our torches last longer than that. The ones in D&D just burn for an hour. Ours burn for...
No, I have 2 times 1 hour torches.
Okay, so what you should be able to see now, I think I have just given light to Mr. Bartleby, but for some unknown reason that's not doing right. I think that needs to be 12, and then that, oops, and then that needs to be 6. Let's do that.
Oh, that looks nice. That looks good.
What's the... I just need to check that I've got the actual... Yeah. So you've got 6 meters and then 12, yeah. So that's right. Right, so let me just see what you can see. Okay then, so the first thing that the gap that you came into, the archway, it looks like there was once a door there. Okay, and the door has long since almost like rotted off. You can still see the remains of it. It looks like it gave access to the bell tower shaft. And as you came down, you could see that there was some areas where there might have been a wooden ladder sort of like hinged onto the wall to allow people to go up and down. The corridor that you're in, you can see that there's a gap at the far end. All the flooring from here on in, unless I say otherwise, is almost like this floor is wooden. Okay, it's like wooden floorboards. You figure from where Hengist has been already, because if you remember, Hengist went right the way down to the bottom, that this is actually depending where you are, we'll say it's the first floor, with the bottom floor being the ground floor. Because I know in America, do you have ground floor, first floor?
I would have said first floor and then second floor.
Okay, first floor.
No
All right.
ground.
Well, so we say ground floor and first. So this is the second floor, the first floor up, so to speak. It looks like it's got wooden floorboards on. It looks like it's very well crafted. It doesn't look like it's rotten in any sense of the word. The walls are actually stonework, and they do look like they've been plastered. Over to sort of like hide the actual construction underneath. It's very quiet, and the air down here is very, very dry. It's not as if you're going down and you can hear the distant drip of water in the distance. Nothing like that at all. It's very quiet, and the air is very dry, very almost like husky. The thing that you do notice, and imagine that you also like stood there, and then the flint and steel goes off and the torch bursts into life, and all of a sudden you see a whole load of light sort of like illuminating the corridor. The first thing that you immediately see is the amount of red blood staining on the actual floorboards. It doesn't look like there's patches of it in this place. It looks like the whole corridor, as far as you can see, the floorboards seem to have absorbed a huge amount of blood. You can also see that it's splattered up the walls as well, the plastered walls, and to Hengist, you're familiar with tactics and things like this, and it almost like looks as if somebody's cut a major artery and then whirled it around. and it's just everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. However, one thing that you do notice straight away, there is no body parts. Nothing at all. End of description.
Okay, unless otherwise stated, if Gulliver's saying anything or talking to someone, he'll try to get close to them.
Okay.
And talk softly, whisper.
Okay, so I will assume that the party is all doing
Exactly.
that at this present moment in time, unless you change your mind at any point.
So we came down in area 1, I take it, and we've just
Yeah. So,
through.
and remember that one continues down.
Yeah.
There's a further distance, and then that's when Hengist went beforehand. That where
And
all the
tied off our
rubble
rope.
was. Yeah.
Yeah.
How high is the ceiling? Is it something that we can see when we?
Yeah, it's vaulted though, so it's not straight. It's sort of like got that arch. Bartleby, this looks very religious. You know, it's a vaulted ceiling. It's very well preserved. It's very decorative. It's got little gargoyles down at the points. It just sort of like sings religion to you, and yet there's definitely a strange. You definitely get a strange feeling in here as you sort of like look around, especially as you hold up the torch light and the light and the shadows flicker off what appears to be quite alien faces on the corners of the vaults, etc.
We recognise it as some type of worshipping.
Well, it looks like if you've been in a church across Odess, then yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like a whorehouse or a tavern. If you know, even for people like Hazra probably sees it as a very rich establishment. You know, there's plenty of money here. You do notice actually that about halfway down, so I'm just going to ping the map, just sort of like here, and the same on the opposite side there. There seems to be torch brackets. They don't have any torches in. They seem to either have been burnt out long ago, but there is some indication that this place was actually used and lived in.
Okay, Gulliver's going to being close to Bartleby. He's gonna say to him, "Do you know who was worshipped here, Bartleby?"
Bartleby will look around, still kind of trembling. Does he recognize what kind of god or goddess might have been worshipped here?
You can roll your devotion roll, unless you've got a specific skill for religion.
No, I was going to try arguing history, but I think my devotion might be better.
Yeah, well, you can either roll, I'll give you a choice, you can either roll your devotion, or you can roll your history, which would be a hard roll.
I'm going to go with devotion, I think. Here we are.
You can you sort of like have a look around. What was the question, Gulliver? Sorry.
Whether or not he could tell who was being worshipped here.
Yeah, so Bartleby, you sort of like have a look round, and from this corridor, it looks like it was one of the old gods. So one of the gods of your religion. Definitely not one of the new gods. This corridor seems to be almost like as it was, apart from the huge amount of blood around the place. It's this corridor is not the bit that's giving you the eerie feeling. It's sort of like out that doorway. Oh, sorry, I should have said the eastern doorway. It's literally a doorway. Yeah, there's no door there, and unless I say otherwise, assume that there's no doors in. The light will reveal it because dynamic lighting's in, but if there is a door that is there that is shut, I will actually tell you in the description as you move towards it.
Does the floor seem sticky? I.e., is it dried blood or is it more?
Yeah, you sort of like lift your foot up and down, and you sort of like see as people stand in the corridor. It's not fresh, you know, but you figure it probably relates to what the injured miner was talking about. The gap between those two events, you know, is probably about right. Did you hear that cat then?
Yes.
That I don't have a cat. It's my clock saying that I got an extra subscriber on YouTube.
I thought it was a catastrophe.
And then there was me thinking it was Mr. Pickles.
Yeah.
What to your cat?
My cat.
Yeah.
It's dead.
Oh.
Oh.
It was tasty.
I did have a cat, but it's dead. Thank you for bringing it up, Sugar Wugger.
How come it's meowing then?
I've got it stuffed and I put
Because
it.
it's now undead.
I recorded its meow, so every now and again the computer just goes meow. So I go, oh, never mind, never mind.
Have you seen Pet Cemetery?
In the kitchen, there's just this pile of rotting cat.
yeah, it's a bit like Back to the Future. You know, when the opens the dog food. I can't watch that bit because I think it's awful. When it tips and it's all go onto a huge pile already. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So
Right.
probably your sort of like old gods about to be, but it's what's beyond that is more disturbing. And yes, Gulliver, it's not sort of like fresh, but probably the time gap is about right.
Okay, Gulliver's concerned about the about being ambushed from above, because that's happened to him before. So he is going to be keeping an eye upwards.
Okay, yeah. So we'll assume that when your perception rolls are done, then that is taken into account. Yeah.
Okay.
Pardon me.
Azra will whisper to the group.
Can you move forward a bit, please? Because I'm tottering on this.
I'm right on the bloody edge here. I'm not the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Let me forward. I think it might be better if I led the way, just to check to see if that the way is safe. Dot dot dot.
We were trying to build atmosphere. That's fine, but wouldn't Hengist be better?
I thought we were trying for a stealthy approach, and Hengist, don't get me wrong, he's a fantastic fighter and a wonderful soldier protecting us. But if I lead a little bit further ahead quietly, maybe I could see things and then come back. Maybe only maybe like at the edge of the light, looking at or just to the next door and have a look through. Otherwise, you'll have chunk, 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 chunk. No, it's all clear. You know, I'd rather be like, oh, nothing here. Let's go back. Silky, silky, soft.
Gulliver's just going to step to one side to allow Azra to do whatever he likes.
Yeah. So Hazra, what are you planning on doing?
I'd like to move to the entrance here, very quietly, and get into this corner here and just have a quick peek through the door, see if we can see anything.
Yeah. So make a stealth roll if you're planning on going stealthily.
I'm indeed, yes. Stealth. Which is just a bit of the stealth. There you go. Thank you. Oh.
Yeah, so you sort of like go clattering up, you know, and it's sort of like,
fall over.
and yeah, so what you see is what you see. There seems to be another room beyond. So what you can see with the light there is what you can actually see.
So
If anything, it might be a little bit less because.
But the dimness of the light.
Yeah.
So assuming everything's clear, I'll look over my shoulder and quietly beckon people forward.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and move on forward, trembling with my light source. I'm going to try and come up behind Tazra.
Okay. Okay, so just to let you know, these doorways are only ever wide enough for one person to fit through. So once somebody is in the doorway, then that is it. Okay, it's officially blocked. I know normally you can actually move through another token to get somewhere else, but throughout a doorway, if anybody is near it in any sense of the word, then the doorway is blocked. Okay, so this room beyond seems to open out into something quite luxurious, as in for size. You can see on the opposite side of the room that there is another exit. You can just see it dimly as your light floods into the room, and it looks like the blood or the staining on the floor almost like comes into this and almost like seems to follow the trajectory of your light source. It seems to almost like fan out, and you can see that as it sort of like gets more into the room, it slowly fades, if that makes sense. The ceiling is quite vaulted in here. It's a little bit bigger than the previous corridor, and it seems to be it just seems to be empty, and it seems to be a vast room that is absolutely empty.
Hazard will he'll, again, now there's more light there, he will stick his head through and have a quick look around.
Yeah,
and
that's what you you can see. Yeah.
Okay, so I say, Angus, everything seems to be clear. So if you'd like to move in, I will follow behind you.
Angus will.
Yeah. So this is so. Yeah.
Can take a step to the right as he goes in and hold the torch up so that he can.
Do you? Who has the torch? Sorry, because I've got it. Bartleby. Does Gulliver have a torch as well?
Gulliver has the torch, yeah.
Oh, I thought Bartleby had the torch.
I had offered to take the torch.
So Bartleby just has his candle, yeah?
Yeah, I gave the torch to Gulliver, then Bartleby offered to take the torch.
So just one second. Let me just swap light sources around.
And I probably would have put out the candle as we got a torch lit, or used the candle to light the torch.
Okay, got you. So I'll take your light off.
Yeah, my candles are basically starters.
Yeah. Okay, so yes, you sort of like enter into the room, Gulliver, and you can immediately see the whole dimensions of it. You can see up to the north. So north is straight up on the map. Off to the west there's another doorway. On the south, you can see that there's another doorway on the same wall as you are, and another doorway right the way down to the bottom of the south. As you step in, you can see something that wasn't visible beforehand. But you can actually see it. It's actually there. Can you see that?
Is it the red thing?
Yeah, I've just put like a little red cross on it. Yeah, you can see something. It's quite small. It seems to be. Can you see my camera?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It seems to be about this big. It seems to be made out of cloth, maybe leather, and it's just lying on the floor. Apart from that, there's nothing else in this room at all.
Could it be like a crumpled form?
It's definitely too small to be a person.
Right.
It might
be a baby, or
it could be a baby. Probably even maybe it could be a backpack. or an item of clothing. The weird thing for you is that, you know, you sort of like have a look around, and that literally is the only thing in the room. Make a perception check for me, please.
Is there still blood on the floor?
Yeah, so the blood sort of like fans out from here.
49 out of 61 standard.
49 out. Yeah, so you sort of like gaze at it as the people are behind you, and you suddenly realise that it's the bottom of a boot, and the sole is looking at you. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
So it's as if it's a boot and it's fallen over, and you're just looking at the sole of it.
The two doorways, are there doors intact to them, or are they?
No, all the doorways are completely open.
Does it look like there might have been doors on them before, or are they just archways?
Yeah, the one that you've just come through and the ones you can see, they don't look like there was any doors ever on them. They're just, as you said, they're just sort of like archways that people probably sort of like walked through.
Okay, as he's looking around, I will step through to the left of the door.
Yeah.
And I'll whisper back, Mr. Bartleby, it's safe to come in.
I'll come to the light.
No,
Right there.
Stay away from the light. No.
And then Hengist will
Is
follow
Hengist
through.
actually in the dark? Yeah.
Sorry, I thought Hengist already got in with Gulliver.
No. Yeah, right. So you all in the room. There are several things that you do notice. There seems to be on the wall, on the plastered walls in here. You can see that there's sort of like paintings on them, sort of like painted into the actual plaster. They're not sort of like hanging up paintings. They seem to be depicting some sort of like pilgrimage or religious, bringing in the harvest, etc., etc. Bartleby, you sort of like recognise them as sort of like festivals throughout the year. Harvest, the new moon, celebrating the longest day of summer, which is today, things like that. They're sort of like almost like what we would class as pagan worship, but it's from your own sort of like religion, the old gods, and some of them are quite nice. The only time they've been spoilt is when there's a bit of a splatter of blood up them.
Would it be safe to assume that this is a temple to like a sun god then, if it's one of the old religion, or does it look like it might be multiple gods we worship here?
From your original devotion roll, at the moment you think it's probably an old god, but it might have been the god of harvest, or it might have been the god of agriculture or something like that. It doesn't look like it's specific. There seems to be a lot of different festivals being depicted on the walls, but it's definitely not evil. You know,
Gotcha.
there's no sort of like person digging out somebody's heart or anything like that. It's just sort of like normal everyday pagan worshipping.
Okay.
Hazra will, with the spear in hand, go down to this shoe down here and just poke it with his.
Yes. So just to remind you, Hazra wouldn't have known it was a shoe. Because that information was given to Gulliver. So you from that side.
See this item on the floor. I'll move.
Yeah. So you sort of like maybe not have even seen it from where you are, but yeah. So you can see that it's you can all sort of like, we'll say that Gulliver points it out and sort of like notice it, and you all notice that it's quite. It looks incredibly out of place. And Hengist, just roll your strategies and tactics. Yeah, you sort of like see it there, and you look at the open doorways around, and it almost like looks to you as if it's some kind of lure, as if it's something to sort of like, especially because you can see the open doorway to the west. And there's one, and it's almost like directly level with it. And you can also see the doorway down to the south. It's almost, and it looks so much out of place here because there's nothing else in this room. You're almost like your strategic mind sort of like kicks in, and, everything's shouting to you as if saying, ambush.
So,
Hasbro makes move forward.
As that happens, and as Angus feels Hazra brush past him, he's going to, with his, he's got his sword and shield out, so he'll reach forward with his sword arm, put the flat of the blade against Hazra's chest, so like as a barring action, and then whisper, "Be wary. I feel like this is a trap. Keep an eye out on the exits."
Thank you, my friend. I will go with your caution and see what happens. What would you like us to do?
Is there any signs of which way they might have gone? But before we disturb everything in the room, could you see which? I mean, they could have gone north, south, east, or west.
I will try, my friend. I will look at the floor. The floor, I'm assuming, would have been covered in rubble and dust over the many years of collecting it.
No, not at all.
No, right.
No, as previously mentioned, it just looks like a wooden floor, and then that's it. There's no. The only thing that is on it is the spray, the almost like the outgoing stain of almost like in a fan section of the blood. That's sort of like its focus point is the corridor. So it almost looks as if blood has poured out of the corridor that you were in and then come into the room and almost like spread out in a like a fan area.
In this spray of blood on the floor, I take it would I be able to see any footprints, perhaps?
Well, you can, if you would like to. It depends. The difficulty on the roll will depend where you go. So obviously, at the moment, people are in front of you. If you wish to, almost
what
like.
I'd like to is move to Angus's left and just have a look in this sort of general area here.
Yeah, so if you're just having a look and not carefully watching, then yeah. So roll your tracking skill. Now your tracking skill is probably more outdoors in any case.
Outdoors,
yeah, and you sort of like look around, and you can definitely tell that there's been movement, and the movement seems to have emanated from that corridor out across the room, where there doesn't seem to be a lot going north at all, but there seems to be quite a lot sort of like going to the eastern corridor and off to both the southern corridors as well. The southern one and the one on the southwest, the one below Gulliver. It seems that it doesn't look like anything sort of like come back up to the north. It seems to all be going down the other way.
I'll relay that.
Whisper to Bartleby. He's going to say, Bartleby, does your temple have a bell tower?
It's up to you.
I would think so. I would think that the Church of Amriel would have a lot of moonlight, or not moonlight, so like glass panes over different rooms, so that people can be seeing the moon wherever they are. Big long areas where people go outside during the night to pray.
So if this was your temple, where would we need to be heading? All temples, are they made by the same people? Are they all laid out the same way?
I don't think so.
I mean, where do you live? Do you live on on the ground floor, or do you live on the first floor?
Well, ever since that I became an initiate, I've been sleeping on the first floor. The ground floor is where I was before, helping in the kitchens.
So the ground floor will be where the majority of the worshipping happens. It's also where things like kitchens are placed, mainly because of fire hazards for burning things. And the upper floors tend to be more about accommodation, but also private rooms for priests and high priests, personal worshipping space for the gifted, I gifted with money, for the high. So if anybody wants to come to if I was a noble person, I wouldn't, worship with the commoners down below. There's probably a proper space up above, but definitely a separation. Up above is private, high priestesses. Quarters, but also general living quarters for acolytes, etc. Well, downstairs is the main running of things.
I'm just trying to get an idea of where we should be heading.
I think we should make a clear exploration of this place as quick as we can to be done with it and crawl out. I'm sure if we wander about, we'll find what we're looking for. If we're looking for a chalice, I think the general worship area might be a good place to start. It'll probably be on display.
Or where's your library? Is it on the first floor or the second floor? Or the ground floor?
It's kind of all of the above. It's a very big room, the library. There's ladders everywhere to climb.
So if it's on the ground floor, then we should be looking for stairs.
That seems a logical, yeah. And so remember, you're actually one floor up. So yeah, you would have thought there needs to be stairs coming down to the lower chambers, which would then be on the ground floor.
Go for it.
I'm not wise in the ways of these buildings. I'm an outdoor person, so Bartleby. Where would your stairs be in your own chapel? Would it be to the east, or if you think the bell tower we've just come down is behind us?
Bartleby, you know that there's no set construction of temples. The only thing that you know is that the main worshipping bit is in the middle, down below. And the main doors tend to open straight onto that. And apart from that, you wouldn't know from, coming down a bell tower which way was to the stairs in here. And the other thing is, this doesn't look like your temple, your church at all.
Definitely.
But you do know to support both Hazra and Gulliver, there would need to be a set of stairs or some way of actually descending down to the ground floor.
Yeah, and I know all this, but I'm not going to necessarily come out and say that. Bartleby will hold up his hands, kind of like, okay, hold up.
Cool.
And then try and make his way into the middle of the room, where he'll perform a prayer to seek guidance from Amriel to see if that might illuminate where our objective is.
Yeah, so move to where you would like to be.
I have to move my arms quite a bit for this, so I'd probably go to here, maybe try and push Hengist and Hazra up a little bit so I can get not as close to that weird thing in the room.
Hengist would have moved, placing himself as much as he can between Bartleby and his arm waving and most of the entrances onto this room.
Yeah, so you pass the corridor out to the east there, and you can see that seems to be quite a long corridor. You can just see in the dim light, just at the edge of your torchlight, as it sort of like floods down the corridor, that there seems to be two entrances, one to the north and one to the south, just down that corridor. Apart from that, it looks to be long and thin, and that's it. Hengist, you do suddenly realise at this point that it's probably not noise that, using your tactics and strategies, it's probably not noise that is actually going to alert people to your presence.
It's going to be the light, isn't it?
Yes, it's the light is what's alerting you to presence, because down everywhere throughout this place, it is pitch black. It is pitch black. You're actually closer to the boot now, and you can see it is indeed a boot, but there's something quite different about it, because the boot actually still has the leg in it. The only difference is slightly above the top of the boot, so slightly sort of like midway up the calf, the leg disappears. If anything, it looks very much like it's been snapped or ripped off. So all that's actually there is a boot with the foot and the calf in it, and the jagged bones and the blood coming out of the top. It's not gushing or anything. There is a faint odour of death that Hengist is quite used to from various battles. It doesn't look like it was a clean slice of a sword or an axe or anything like that. It looks more as if it was torn. Yes, Bartleby, you're now in a suitable place. What would you like to do?
I'd like to pray to my goddess for the eyes of Amriel, which is this prayer of course.
Oh yeah, cool.
See if there's anything that might be of interest to our party, particularly chalice, perhaps, that we're looking to get. This is my roll. Could I use a point of luck?
Yes. Just to reverse it, or are you going? Yeah. Okay then. So you sort of like cast Witch Sight, and the first thing that you notice is that there almost like seems to be a background count here. There's as if there's some kind of foreboding, some kind of other godly presence. And even when you cast your spell, you're quite used to seeing your spell manifest itself as the golden beam of Amriel. And you notice that within this place, her moonshine or moonbeam is somewhat muted. It still is working, but there definitely seems to be, and this is what you're picking up, there seems to be nothing in here that is radiating magic, but there definitely seems to be residue of something quite... I think you've seen it before. You saw it before up at the Standing Stones. That almost like dark red residue that seems to be just almost like flowing, like like a low hanging mist when you got dry ice. It just seems to be like that. It's not covering anything off. You just see wisps of it, a bit like when Night Stalker in the X-Men disappear, when he teleports and there's just sort of like some blackness. It just seems to be there. It's not concentrated in any spot. It just seems to be completely almost like as if it's oozing out of the floor and the walls. Something here has happened that has involved quite a bit of powerful thesis magic, but not of the best sort.
I'll relay that to my friends. It's not a good place. A lot of evil power here. I think we already knew bad things happened, but I am having a hard time seeing with Amriel's eyes.
Housework, can you just roll a perception roll for me, please? Yeah,
it's fine.
You as you sort of like Bartleby's chatting, something out the corner of your eye, up at that north western doorway, it just sort of like catches your eye. It's as if something glinted, just sort of like in that little part of the doorway there. Can you see where I'm pinging? It was really when people moved around and the shadow sort of like cast slightly and something just sort of like glinted, something quite metallic. It wasn't, you're quite used to animal eyes. It wasn't animal's eyes. It was definitely something metallic.
Mm-hmm. I'll whisper back to Hengist and say, Hengist, I think I just saw something in the corridor behind us. It may be a trick of my eye, but I swear I saw something glint. Just as a touch, as Bartleby was waving his arms around, it may have been a trick of the light, but I think I saw something. Just to let you know.
That's good to know. We should.
We are too open here, methinks. I think.
I agree. Question is which way? West. East or south. I do not think sort of like north. Doubling back on ourselves is probably a good idea. We want to be moving into the place.
You were saying that shoe on the floor may be a trap. So maybe if we go east away from it, and this could at least that way we can defend ourselves. If I stay at the rear and you go to the front, perhaps this time.
It's a good idea. We should probably get moving. The light is more dangerous than whilst it gives us sight, it's more dangerous than anything.
And you also have to think the light isn't going to last very long as well down here.
I'm just typing to someone.
Oh.
I don't want to ask you to roll it but you know that information.
We should probably check that glinting out first, Hazra. I think we should all move as a group though, and someone always keep an eye out behind us.
Are you sure, my friend?
It's best make sure it's clear before we leave something behind us that could jump out at us later.
Okay, about your strategic knowledge. And what Hazra will do, he will move to the side.
Okay,
here.
hang on. Just move yourself back. Because of where we are, what I need you to do is tell me who's moving when, and then don't move your token. You've all got your own colour. Just put a dot or a cross on the map where you'll be moving to, because obviously once, say, Gulliver moves, then the light changes and you can start to see other things. So it's really important that people say where they're going to move to, but not move their token, so I can then play it through.
Okay. Well, I was hoping that Hengist would move forward.
Just say what you're doing.
Well, I'm going to move here, there, and I'll be facing this. I'll be facing south.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, you don't need. I assume that you're all taking up 360-degree perception rolls. So just put a cross where you're going to be. So Hazra's
will be moving there.
Okay.
Gulliver's going to move behind Hengist as he moves.
Okay. And what about Bartleby?
Bartleby is probably going to go over here.
Okay. Fantastic. So I'm now going to get rid of your things because I know where everybody's going. Okay, so you sort of.
Me, by the way, that's the boot.
I'll just move you roughly where everybody is going. Please remember that when we stop, although you can see into places, you just be aware of what you can see from where your characters are. Okay, so Hengist, you sort of like stand in this doorway, and the doorway in front of you, there was indeed something glinting in there. There seems to be almost like bronze jugs or containers. They seem to be scattered around the room. It looks like they probably were used to hold water or something like that at the far end of the room. I'll just put on the edge of it for you. Almost like here. Can you see where I just put that blue line?
Yep.
That seems to be a slightly raised area that seems to have some kind of pool in it. It seems to have some. You can see that there's actually water in there. It's not moving or anything, and the light's very difficult to see whether or not there's anything in there or not. But it definitely seems to be some kind of room. There looks like there used to be benches down either side, but they have been smashed, and they're literally lying in splinters left, right, and centre. And then these sort of like metal jugs and containers, you think it probably were for maybe some kind of bathhouse or something like that. You do notice, and you can't actually see clearly from there because it's out of the it's only in the dim light. You can actually see that there seems to be some kind of pictures on the wall, very similar to this one. There seems to be it looks like there's a picture. It could be you almost like just up on the north wall. It almost like looks like young maidens frolicking in water, but you're not too sure from this distance at all.
Okay. The pool of water, is it sort of sunk into the ground, or is it sort of standing up from the ground?
Yeah, it's sort of like there's a step up to it, so you think it probably might go below ground level, but it's definitely raised quite a bit.
Okay. Hengist is going to whisper to Gulliver and say, "Can you follow me, but stay in the entrance? I'm just going to double check this room is clear." And then
you but stay in the entrance. Yes, I got it.
And then Hengist is going to move further into the room. He's going to sort of like, just as he gets through the doorway, he's going to pause slightly for Gulliver to catch up, and he's going to be checking the corners as well as he goes in. Okay,
there's nothing lurking in there. How far to the water do you want to go, Bartleby? You almost like hear you sort of like think, oh, water, black tentacles. Not a good place to be, Bartleby.
Gotta have your arms on.
Hengist is going to move to the middle of the room. He's not going to go any further than that.
Then. So we can
get to the doorway and just hold up the torch. He's getting slightly nervous now, so he's going to hold the torch and he's going to swap it to his left hand, and he's going to put his hand in his tunic and bring out the disc that he uses to cast.
Okay, yeah, cool. So the first thing that you notice as you go in here, Hengist, is that the walls did have some really nice pictures and paintings of young maidens frolicking in water and bathing themselves, and holding aloft bronze containers and letting the water sort of like cascade down over them. But you also notice that was probably the original painting, and they've been defaced, and they've had it looks like somebody's almost like scribbled out their faces and sort of like coloured in black circles for their eyes as to make them look like they're just like sunken sockets with no eyeballs at all. And the other thing that you notice is that there seems to be on one of the cliffs that sort of like were in the background, there seems to be this depiction of this naked priestess that seems to be holding up what appears to be a dripping heart, or maybe a dripping liver or something. It looks quite heart shape, and you notice that it's dripping down, and it's sort of like falling into. It looks like somebody's painted it into the waterfall, as if this thing's holding something up, and the water's dripping down into the blood's dripping down into the waterfall, and then filling up these pools where the maidens are sitting. A lot of them seem to be. They all have their eyes out. And you also notice that somebody's painted in like cutting wounds across their chests, and it's quite hideously defaced. There is something floating in the water. It's face down. Just roll your perception roll for me, please. Yeah, it looks like it's a head. It's definitely face down. It's only the head. Okay. And you notice from the wound, it looks like it's been ripped off, and it must have been thrown into the water when it was still quite fresh, because the water is all sort of like a deep crimson. Is obviously oozed out, and the head is literally, it's not sort of like bobbing, it's just sort of like there. You can see that the person seems to have blondish hair, and quite, it doesn't look like it's a female head. It looks like it's more of a man's head.
Okay, so satisfied that this room seems to be clear apart from the decapitated head, Angus is going to turn and walk towards Gulliver, and then as he gets close to Gulliver, he's going to say, "Room's clear, although it seems to have been defaced." But I'll
Gulliver, you would have.
Bartleby in a second.
Yeah, Gulliver, you would have seen the walls, but not the floating head.
Yeah, Angus isn't going to mention that to Gulliver. He knows what Gulliver's like.
I can understand why Bartleby really likes being in his temple now.
I would hazard a guess that not all temples are like this. I think we should move on. I'm happy that this place is clear.
What did Hazra say?
You
It
think
must be the light off one of these bronze jugs.
Yeah, most definitely.
Okay, step out the way, holding the sword.
Hengist will make his way near to Bartleby.
Yeah.
And then he'll say to let him, fairly quiet but loud enough for everyone to hear, and say, "We should move on and be quick about it."
Okay.
We should try going east or south.
I think east, Angus, it seems a sensible place. I don't want to go past what you say is a trap.
Okay, so we can probably assume, almost like in old Dungeons and Dragons, when you approach the door, we can probably assume, if everybody's happy with it, a similar sort of routine. So, are people happy for me to say that Hengist will step in the doorway, Gulliver behind, Bartleby at a distance, and Hazra to either the top or bottom of the door facing outwards, keeping an eye out? Are people happy with that? Yeah. Okay, then. So the only thing I need to know, Bartleby, is, are you happy there?
In this position, no. I'd say I'm just ping. Oh, that's not how you ping. I'd be up there. Sorry for defacing your map. Above Hazra.
Okay, then. So just move yourself back up there, and then that's absolutely fine. Okay, then. So yeah, so this corridor, you can see that it goes down. It seems to be. It goes quite a long way. You can see it sort of like dims out, but the end of the corridor is not there. It goes on. You notice that there seems to be, now you can see not only the first two doorways, Hengist, but you can see the second two doorways as well. They seem to be rather smaller than the doorways out of this room. You can gain the feeling that they're going into rooms. and but they don't look. This corridor doesn't look as grand as the room that you've been in. There's no vaulted ceiling on this one at all. It just seems to be almost like it could be maybe a series of meeting rooms or sleeping quarters or private worshipping areas.
Okay. So Hengist is going to he's going to have his shield out and sword level. So he's got his. If anything's coming down the corridor, all it's going to meet is his shield and armor and sword. But he's going to turn his head to Gulliver and say, "It seems like there's double sets of doors each the way down. We're going to have to be clearing 2 rooms in one go. Otherwise, someone could get jumped. I will go to the right hand and ask Hazra if you stand in the middle, and Hazra can go into the left hand door, and we could do it like that, each all the way down."
So where do you want me to stand?
So if you can stand in the doorways in between both doors, so the light's cast into both rooms, and then Hazra and I will clear the rooms.
So is Hengist going to the north one or the southern one?
Hengist will go to the southern one, so he'll go to the one on his right.
Yeah. If you say north and south, then that's easier. For,
Hengist will go south.
And Hazra will go to
He's asked if Hazra will do that, but if Hazra does that, it's up to Hazra.
No. Hazra will bow to Hengist's superior tactical knowledge, and he'll go to the north door.
Okay.
Just as Hengist is stepping into his doorway, Gulliver's going to say,
What happens if they come from the east?
I presume you're going down at the back, Bartleby, like that?
Correct.
Yeah.
Could I have my club equipped?
Yeah, by all means. So as you look in the north and south rooms, they definitely seem to be the remnants of some kind of sleeping quarters. There seems to be what was probably a mattress or some description on the floor, probably stuffed with hay. It's not of the great condition anymore. It's probably been here, and you can smell that very mustiness of the decomposing hay inside. You do notice that in the southern room, so Hengist, in yours, there seems to be 3 clay tablets. They're about 30 centimeters from top to bottom, and about 10 or 15 centimeters wide. They're definitely clay. You can see that they're sort of like they don't look like they've been fired. They just look like they've been dried in the sun, and they seem to have some kind of writing on, and they seem to be intact, and they're just sort of like at the edge of your torchlight before it goes into dimness in your room. Hazra, your room seems to have roughly the same as the southern room. It doesn't have the clay tablets, but it does seem to, it looks as if almost like a pot of some, maybe a bowl or something like that, has been smashed. It looks like, just roll a perception roll for me, Hazra. Yeah, you sort of like have a look at it, and to start off with, you thought it had just been dropped, but you sort of like suddenly think, no, it, from where the shards are, it definitely doesn't look like it was just dropped. It's definitely as if it was
spread.
Yeah, overhead and sort of like hurled down and sort of like shattered out. It looks like it was maybe a bowl, a quite simple bowl. It's maybe clay or something like that, but that's about it. Gulliver, just so you can now see further down the corridor, so you can see north and south, but you can see that further along there's another 2 north and south. Can you see those?
Yeah.
Gulliver's
attention's going to be.
And just to let you know, that is not the end of the corridor. The corridor carries on. And just before we go any further, before people say what they want to do, Bartleby, could you please roll for me a perception check?
Can do.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, what would people like to do?
Gulliver's going to be keeping an eye out east.
Angus will take another step into the room just to make sure it's completely clear because he can't see that corner.
Yeah.
And if he's satisfied that it's clear, he'll say out loud, "There seems to be some clay tablets with writing on here. It might be worth having a look."
Yeah, so you move into the room, and Gulliver sort of like brings the appropriate light in, and you probably do the same with the top room as well with Hazra, just to make sure. And the room is empty, and Gulliver, as previously mentioned, you keep an eye on the ceiling, and there's no sort of like traps or lurker above sort of like lined there, or there's no gelatinous cubes or anything like that, or green slime or black puddings. Those were the days of good dungeon crawls. And there's no mimics either. But yeah, there's definitely not anything in the room, and there's nothing in your room, Hazra, either.
Okay, so if I move further into the room, I'll make sure I slide my feet over the ground rather than standing on this broken pottery.
Yeah, and the one thing that you do notice, Hazra, as you look down, your tracking instinct definitely shows you that there's no blood in here. Mm-hmm. There's no blood. There seems to be no blood coming down this corridor at all.
That's all. Yeah.
As soon as Hengist mentions tablets writing, Gulliver's going to take the torch into this room to where the tablets are.
Poor Bartleby goes, Bartleby won't be able to move or anything.
Bartleby, move to me, my friend.
And looking for a safe place to put the torch down so it won't go out. He's gonna place it down, put the disc that he was holding back in the inside of his tunic, and he wants to start having a look at these tablets. He wants to see whether or not there's any runes written on them.
Yeah, well, if you remember, as you were coming up to this place, you saw some runes that linked to the map.
Yeah.
And also to the I think you found them on little stones by the side.
Yeah.
And you immediately look through these tablets. The first thing that you will see, just roll your literacy roll for me.
Whilst you're doing that, Hengist is going to say to Bartleby, do you want to swap places? I'll stand in the doorway. You come into the room.
Bartleby was backing up with his club.
Say again, sorry, Gully.
I used a point of luck, so I got 19 out of 50.
All right, yeah. Yes, the first thing that you notice straight away is that this is not a finished product. It looks as if you remember when you were learning to write that you spent a huge amount of time practicing forming the letters. And these tablets look like people have been practicing runes. There's 3 tablets. On the first tablet is the rune that you've seen before that actually stands for fertility, that you've seen before. The other 2 runes you're not familiar with. It hasn't been on any of the maps you've seen or anything like that.
Was the fertility one the squiggly lines or the triangle?
It was the triangle was fertility. The squiggly lines were chaos.
Right.
There is a way to remember it, but I don't really want to say it on.
Okay. So do they all
think about the shapes?
Yeah.
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 Got it?
Yeah. Do they all have the same rune written on?
No, the first tablet looks like somebody's been practicing the fertility rune.
Yeah.
The other 2 tablets are the same rune over and over again on one, and a different rune on the other, been practicing. So it's the same rune. So you've got 2 new runes, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And it just looks like somebody's been pushing down onto the clay or something, and then the clay looks like it's naturally dried over time and hardened.
What else is on the floor in here? Are these on a table, I take it?
No, it's literally on a floor. Bartleby, you do know that, you know, life of the initiate is not pleasant, you know, and it's quite normal for people in the church, initiates, just to have a straw covered mattress, you know, nothing else.
How big are the tablets?
They're about this wide, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and about 30 centimeters tall. So there's plenty of room to practice.
Okay. Gulliver wants to. He knows that there's no time to actually make copies of these, but he wants to try to take them into memory as much as he can, so that he can maybe copy them later on.
Okay.
And he'll stand up and.
So what we'll say with that then is that you spend some time trying to memorize them, and what we'll probably say is you'll roll your intelligence and willpower,
Right. Okay.
as a roll. So it's not, because it's not purely intelligence, but I always think willpower is a bit contributes to memory, because it's almost like where your magic points come from.
Is the floor dusty?
No, it looks, the whole place looks like there's been no air movement or anything like that. It just looks like a wooden floor. Hengist, could you just roll for me a perception roll? Yeah, okay. Yeah, you don't hear anything, don't we?
Gulliver's going to stand up and sort of like turn around and see. Suddenly see Bartleby there and go, oh, I could recognise one of the runes, but the other two that I couldn't recognise them.
Yeah, go. In the halls, I heard scuttling, and now I'm trying to tell somebody. Nobody's looking at me, and Hengist just pushed past. Hengist, something in the hall.
Which way? East or west?
West, where we came from. I think. Then you guys, the darkness.
That you plunged me into darkness.
We got to move quickly. The chores of an initiate might not help us right now. We could go over.
Are there any torch brackets in here?
Yes, there's torch brackets throughout in various places. Just to.
But no torches.
No, they look like they've either been removed. Some of them still have the stump in them, you know, as if it's sort of like burnt out ages ago. But and some of them looks like the actual torch has been taken out. Because the actual holder is empty. There's nothing in there.
Gulliver's going to put his back to Bartleby and he's going to say, Bartleby, take the torch out of that sticking out of the top of my backpack.
I will do so. Take the torch.
Okay.
Taking it off him, I'll light it, and then I'll hand Hazra's torch to Bartleby. And I'll keep hold of the one that I've lit.
Right, so you both should now have torch. I'm just going to move you out, Gulliver, just so I can make sure that, because now that in that room, Bartleby is your torch now. So, and Gulliver, do you have light?
Yeah, I've got light. Yeah.
Just right. Are you coming? Are you coming back?
As he hands him the torch, he'll say, "It's not as bright as the light of Amriel, but, well, it should give you some comfort."
Thank you, Gulliver. And you're right. Nothing is brighter than Amriel's light.
Hazra, is there anything you would like to do with your room?
No, I've had a look inside. I couldn't see anything that was apart from the broken pottery and the mat and so on. So what I will do is I'll move to here.
And there's the scuttling.
Yes.
Just me scuttling around. Hearing Bartleby's comments, or hushed comments, I just want to keep looking behind us to this sort of direction.
Yeah, roll a perception roll for me. Yeah, you sort of like come out and you sort of like train your ears and listen carefully. And to you, it's dreadfully silent because you're so much used to the countryside and the wildlife and all the background noise that you normally hear. And all that is actually, it's not there.
The silence is deafening.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I still want to focus that way while we decide what to do.
Okay. Hengist will move forwards to create space for Bartleby and Gulliver to join them in the middle in a nice tasty sandwich.
Nom, nom,
Join
nom.
in. Put myself right there if I can.
Is the idea
plan is to do the same in the next.
Okay then, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to move you down here, and then I'll give you descriptions of every room. You can see that the corridor, Hengers, you can see where the door ends now. The corridor ends. All the rooms, apart from this one here, which I'll talk about
on the left-hand side.
on the north. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everything. Why have I? Oh yes, that's fine. All the rooms look very similar. They all have this mattress in it. Some of them have a broken chair. Some of them have smashed tablets. Some of them have pots, like Hazra saw before. And Bartleby, you feel very familiar in here, and you almost like think it's almost like it brings back memories of your initiate days, when you were training up, and you share with, if you wish to share with the party.
Yeah, I would, but the
Quietly.
good old days of being an initiate are still right now, so it's the good old now.
Yeah, and you know that this is, well, maybe even before initiative, initiates, when you're just coming into church, and yeah, definitely before Acolyte. These look just like humble priest chambers. The only one that is slightly different, and Hengers, you see it as you walk past, and Gulliver where you are now, is the room up onto the north, at the end of the corridor. And when you get to there, and as you go past and have a look in, just and I'll draw it on for you so you can actually see it. There's definitely here. Can you see where I'm putting it on? There seems to be the bottom of a bed. Is definitely a bed. It's got wood. It's got what appears to be some kind of mattress on it. And you also notice as you walk past and the light sort of like picks up, that room appears to be more have more furniture in it. It seems to be more lived in.
So it's safe to say it's sort of someone fairly high. Hengist wouldn't know what designation they'd have, but it would be a high up person in that order.
Just to let you know, Hengist, and the two rooms to the south, on your map there, they're both just like the others. We'll say that you've checked those, and that's
Can Gulliver appear around the corner?
It looks like it's, as the light sort of like opens it up, it definitely looks like maybe an overseer, maybe somebody who looks after. You're quite familiar about these, Gulliver, as well, in the sense that there's normally somebody who looks after a whole load of lower down people, either in the order. Bartleby, you know them as members, or people who wish to get into the church. And this seems to have a bed in it. It seems to have a table in it as well. and you also you notice that there's, and this is the most strangest thing ever, just where it says 6, there's a pile of, well, it seems to be a rather exquisite looking chain. It looks like there's a gold chain put there. It looks like there's some kind of daggers, a couple of daggers in sheaths. There seems to be a pile of what seems to be silver coins. And there also seems to be like a metal urn that is just stood. It's as if somebody's...
Is it an urn or is it a chalice?
No, it's definitely an urn. It definitely goes in, and it's
Not
more...
this one, is it?
Yeah, it's about this size. Can you see?
Yeah. What colour is it?
It looks like it's made out of like bronze or brass or something like that.
Not gold.
Well, it's yellow. I mean, roll your commerce skill.
Uh, 32 or 54 standard.
The urn looks quite basic. It's got a bit of engraving on it. Doesn't look very worth anything at all. The daggers, the knives, they're quite exquisite, and the chain looks quite nice as well. The urn seems just to be quite... It's almost like a chamber pot. There's a bit of engraving on it, but it's not special.
Gulliver's going to have a tentative look up onto the ceiling.
Yeah, no, there's nothing lurking in the ceiling.
Okay, he's off over to this pile of stuff.
Yeah, there's several things that you notice. There's definitely 2 silver knives there. They look very ceremonious. They don't look like they're daggers or fighting daggers, more ceremonial. They have a slight curve to them in the scabbard. The scabbard is quite jeweled. You probably think they probably sell for about what was your roll? Yeah, about say 450 silver pieces each. That's your commerce sort of like thought about it. The gold chain that you see, probably that is not very good. It looks quite boring actually, and getting this close to it, you don't actually think it's worth anything at all. It's quite rubbish. There's about I'd say about 150 silver pieces there. There does seem to be something that's in the urn though, and down at the bottom if you'd like to have a further look. You don't need to...
Can he put the torch down and just tip it up?
Yeah, you sort of like tip it out.
Give it a shake.
Yeah, and out comes a rather exquisitely crafted gold chain. It is definitely gold. I mean, as you know, silver is the major currency in this world, and gold things are very rare indeed. And you think it's probably worth something like 1,000 silver pieces, maybe more with some good...
Is it like a fine chain or...
Oh, honestly, the craftspersonship in here, the actual, you know, even as you see it, you know, that inner merchant in you is just thinking, wow. And you're just thinking about it, you know, maybe selling it, maybe even perhaps maybe doubling the price and getting like 2,000 silver pieces, something.
And then he closes his eyes and imagines this massive mountain of just cheese.
Yeah, and honestly, the weird
house made of cheese with him pulling bits off the wall and eating.
Yeah.
He's gonna pick it up and he's just gonna stick it into his tunic.
Which does the
just the chain to begin with, and then he's just going to have a quick look behind him to see where everybody else is, and then he's going to pick up the 2 daggers as well, these ceremonious daggers. Does the is there anything on the table?
No, it's totally empty, and all these things are piled in the middle of the room. Well, just roll. Just double your intelligence and roll percentile dice. Let me know what it is.
Okay, so double my intelligence is going to be 28.
No, sorry, not double your intelligence. 5 times your. No, what is it that we do?
I've heard in Call of Cthulhu doing the ×5, ×4, ×3, depending on difficulty.
Yeah. Okay then. So yeah. Well, multiply your intelligence by 5. It'll probably give you quite a high. What will be?
So my intelligence ×5, it will be 70.
Wow, a 1. Yeah, you sort of like look at it, which is a crit. You sort of like look at it and think.
What am I looking at? This was
the pile of the stuff.
Yeah.
You suddenly. You know why it's here. It's as if somebody or something or someone have been collecting things and putting them in here, almost as if maybe if this was being explored, rather than carrying all the good things from these rooms around with you, you figure somebody's taken all the bits, all the good bits, put them in this room in a pile in the middle, as if they're going to come back for it later.
Right.
And you know, and you've only got this because it was a crit roll, that is exactly what has happened. It's not. Okay. There's no doubt in your mind at all.
Okay. He's not gonna spend time picking up the silver coins, but he's gonna come back to the doorway with the 2 daggers that he's
they're sort of like ceremonial knives. So about this, and then the hilt on it.
Scabbards, aren't they?
Yeah, they're in scabbards as well.
So as he comes down, the rest of the party will see them sort of like he'll be tucking them into the front of his belt. And
you're obviously going for some kind of Sinbad look.
He's trying to be like the desert tribe.
Once he's got them, he'll keep turning to the left and the right so that they catch the light.
Yeah, Bartleby, just roll your perception roll for me, please. Yeah, you look at them. They're definitely religious. They're definitely ceremonial. You know, you've seen these in umpteen. They're not actually used for anything to cut open anything. Sometimes they're used in weddings when they sort of like tie the man and the woman's hands together and then break it at the end ceremoniously. But they obviously have some kind of religious connotation to them, religious use.
Would I be able to make a good guess as to which old god knife, ceremonial or religious metaphorical knife use would be most common? Or is that just kind of a general, a lot of them use that?
Yeah, most religions will have one. It's not specific to one religion, it's more generic. It's a bit like candlesticks. You know, it seems to be. But you don't, and Hengist, you probably see it as well. They're not, they might cut a bit of paper, but that's it.
I've seen, if Gulliver sees them, the 2 looking at it, he'll sort of like technically put a hand across his thing to sort of like cover them up, and he'll say, I found them. I've named them. One's called Foe Slayer, one's called Havoc Wrecker.
Foe Slayer and Havoc
Wrecker.
Wrecker.
Those are some mighty fine names. The rest of the rooms are clear. I think we should double back to the main room.
Okay.
Was there anything else in there, perhaps?
In where?
In the room you were just in? No, just the daggers and things. No, no signs of any movement or anything. No.
There was a bed, and there was a table.
Did you leave the gold pieces in there?
Silver pieces, yeah.
Yeah.
And there was also, well, there was also a toilet. Well, not a toilet, but one of the. You probably don't have them in the wilderness. You probably just use a tree. But
No. We have toilets everywhere in the wilderness.
Yeah.
it was like a pot that you, well.
How barbaric. Yes.
Okay.
I agree. Let us move. Let us move on.
Okay, so you've got two. When you get to the end of this, if you remember, I'll just move people back into the main room. So you've got this room here and this room down here. You can probably see now into this back room. Okay, can you see here down there?
I can see about 5 foot of it.
Can you see where I'm pinging?
Yeah.
That is definitely a balustrade, a banister. It's definitely like the edge of a balcony. Okay, and we're over. Sorry, guys, I got so involved in that I've only just seen the time. So we'll take. I apologise for people's backs, etc. We'll take our first 10-minute break there. So if you're watching the stream, then please do come back and go and stretch your legs. How we got a 10-minute break, and then come back and we'll see where the party goes next in the Temple of the Chaos Mother. So we will be right back.
Red Wing,
I'll
calling
do
in.
that.
Goldwing reporting in.
I just want, on a side note, I wanted to go, it's a trap!
Yeah, well.
I had to bite my tongue.
So, welcome back, everyone. We will continue with the party exploring the Temple of the Chaos Mother. They've managed to sort out everything behind them. They've come across some defaced paintings on the wall, a head floating in some water. Gulliver's managed to acquire 2 silver daggers named Foe Slayer and Havoc Wrecker, and also I think he took the chain as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's in his. He's put that inside his tunic.
Yeah, and we've got to this part when we just get to the to tell the party that they're here at the end, just here. This seems to be like a balcony, as if you can look over. There's a room here to your to the west, and from where you are, you can't see anything in this room. The light seems to be catching some of the wall, but the wall seems to be quite unadorned.
Gulliver's going to tap Hengist on the shoulder, and he's going to point. He's going to point south, and he's going to say, "You need to go that way, Hengist."
I agree. And Hengist will start walking forwards towards the south.
Okay, it's the idea to go right there.
Just as he starts moving forward, Hazra will put a hand on his shoulder and say, Hengist, I thought you said we need to check the rooms behind us so there's nothing coming behind us. Should we check the room to the west first before we go that way?
Good point. Angus will go and check that room and stand in the doorway.
Okay, so people remember that the cross is actually a boot with up to the calf still in it, but no other thing. Bartleby and Hazra, do you wish to move?
Bartleby would be following, but cautiously. So actually, probably this is a fair distance. He keeps
okay.
Or I mean, Hazra within about that distance.
Yeah. Okay then. So Hengist, you look into this room. You figured there was probably some kind of meeting room. There's a huge wooden table in the middle. The chairs are no longer there. They seem to be removed from some time, and each of the chair legs are like ears of corn, and they're quite nicely crafted. And you do notice that on the 2 that you can see from this side, somebody has seemed to almost have etched in what appears to be smiling faces on the ears of corn. It's very crudely done. It doesn't look it's almost like just looks as if it's some kind of graffiti or just people sort of like messing around. Gulliver, you could probably see in there, you can see that as well. There also seems to be some of the chaos runes that you've seen before, the squiggly line, has been etched into some of them as well. Apart from that, there's nothing on the table, and from where you are, the room just looks empty. Apart from the table.
Angus will say, the room's clear, let's move on towards the south. And as he walks that way, if Bartleby is within sort of easy whisper earshot, he will say, it seems to be that this was a place of good worship, but is slowly being taken over by something else. There's more and more rooms being defaced with gruesome images, or the chaos, or something not right.
The dark red energy I saw before is present here. This place is the site of a horrible, unholy thing.
Okay, so Bartleby and Hazra, if you'd like to move yourself where you want to be, Bartleby, just as you walk past the leg, just make a medicine or healing roll for me.
Can do. Healing onto you. Oof.
Yeah, it just this leg just looks disgusting.
I don't want to look too long.
No. There definitely seems to be. It appears, Hengist, as you look through this, and Hazra and Gulliver, you can see this now as the light floods into this. There seems to be a balcony here, and it seems to be opening up into a huge room. The ceiling is above you, but you get the feeling just by the voidness of the darkness ahead of you, it almost like looks as if this is a place where it goes from the floor of the ground floor right the way up to the ceiling. There's something very big just out of the light source. You can almost like sense that it's there. Hengist, you sort of like think, what is that? And there's definitely something in there, but what it is, you're not too sure.
Okay. Hengist will say, "We've tarried enough. It's time to try and find this chalice in the main room." And he's gonna step off into the next doorway, and up to the balcony in whichever way he thinks. Yeah.
Okay, Gulliver, are you standing in the doorway, or are you coming onto the actual balcony as well?
I'll move in.
Okay.
I'll move in.
So, and what about the Hazra and
Hazra whispers to Bartleby, "Bartleby, go ahead of me. I will cover the rear."
Thank you. I'll feel safer that way. And then I'll go on ahead into the door.
Okay, so...
Can Gulliver take a tentative look over the balcony?
Yeah, well, I'm going to hopefully reveal something to you. Can you now see something?
You can see something.
Yeah. Okay, so this thing here... Can you see what I'm...
Yeah.
Okay, this is a ginormous statue. You can see as you look over the top, and you're sort of like holding up your torch to see the light. The floor is it's about 7 meters down to the ground below, and you notice that this is a huge statue. And it seems to be that of a woman, and it definitely seems to have one hand outstretched up above its head, and it's outstretched, and you can actually, looking up, people on the balcony, you can actually see that the end of its hand is flat like that and is against the ceiling. It's almost like being created to actually look like it's holding up the ceiling. It seems to be a woman. From what you can see, Gulliver and Hengist, you're sort of like closest to it. It seems to be a woman. There's a huge domed ceiling that is supported by pillars going up there. It looks... structurally sound. It doesn't look like there's any... It doesn't look like it's a glass roof or anything like that. You do notice, Hengist and Gulliver, because you can see this a lot clearly, but I'm assuming that you pass it back to people, that it has about 3 arms, but it definitely looks as if it originally only had 2, and it looks like there's an arm up, the other shoulder has been broken off, there's nothing there, but you notice that there's additional arms sort of like erupting from the collarbone area, as if they've been welded on or added on in some way.
Do they look like them from the same material? Or
No, not at all. And you notice that the one of them that comes out, instead of almost like having a hand on the end, has a snake's head. So it looks like a normal hand, but at the end it turns into a snake. And the other one that comes out is down, and at the end it extends into what appears to be a tentacle that is just sort of like wrapping round her, as if she's entwining herself. You also notice that the face looks like it's had all features knocked off it. And did you say that you were looking over the top?
Yeah, I wanted to look down, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, so you can see everything from your torchlight. So you can sense that the pillars are about here. The other thing that you notice, and you can see it from the side as you look back, both Hengist and Gulliver, you can see this. It looks like her stomach has been chiseled out, and it doesn't go right the way through, but it looks like a hollow has been chiseled out. You could have put something on that. It's quite flat at the bottom, but there's nothing there now. But it definitely looks quite strange. You can see that the palisade and the banister comes round to the west, Hengist, from you, and then can you see it turns again? Yeah. That big black line here is still the palisade, and you can also see going round the other way that it heads off into the darkness. But you get the feeling that this balcony probably goes right the way round down below. There's no light down below, and it's quite eerie, Hengist and Gulliver, looking over. Because you get that vertigo feeling of looking over, and almost like places looking into darkness. Could you both give me, please, a perception roll?
I'd like to use a point of luck, making it an 18 out of 61.
Okay, 18. Brilliant. Okay, so as you looking over, and your light lights things up, you both sort of like see something, and you both look at each other because you are pretty sure that as you came into this room, something or somebody, you could see them almost like scampering away. It looked like they were almost like walking on all fours. Actually on their feet, not on their knees, but on their feet. And they seemed to scuttle away from the light into darkness. And both of you sort of like, from your rolls, both of you saw it and then thought, did we see that? And you sort of like look at each other and sort of like both say, yeah, I saw that as well. It was definitely human, but it was almost like on its hands and on its feet, scampering away. It looked like it was either wearing very little clothing or just simple clothes. It didn't seem to... They might have been ragged or torn. It didn't seem to have any weapons or anything. And it went away from you, if that makes sense. It didn't come towards you.
I'm sure I saw something, Hengist. Best be on guard. But
Yes, I think so.
Do you recognise the statue?
Wouldn't Bartleby?
Big. Could it be of the thing that people were worshipping here?
You've it reminds you of the goddess of farming and agriculture That's what it looks like. But it definitely had a face, and it definitely only had 2 arms, and whatever has happened here, Bartleby, it's definitely been defaced and added to.
Yeah, it's your guess is probably as good as mine here, Gulliver. Based on what we've seen, it's either agriculture or the water goddess, but I'm leaning towards one of those.
But why would people do that to her then?
I suppose there's people who don't like other faiths, and the only people who would hate agriculture or water would be those who make horrible crimson red blood mists rise from the ground. Bartleby just gestures about, even though you guys probably weren't seeing that at all.
There's something in Discord for you.
Oh.
Gulliver will tap Hengist on the shoulder and point towards the southwestern bit of the balcony, and he'll say, "That way, Hengist."
Yes, seems like a good idea.
Are you coming to this turn in the corridor? Yeah.
Yeah, and Angus will lead on, hoping everyone else is following.
So you can now see quite clearly the pillars holding up this thing. Are you stopping there, Bartleby? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Bartleby is in some intensive thought, looking at the statue now.
Yeah, and Hazra, are you checking behind?
I'm covering. Yeah, I'm looking behind and covering Bartleby's back.
Brilliant. So as you come round this corner, anybody who hasn't seen the statue before sees it, and you notice that the 2 pillars here go right from the base of the floor below you, 7 meters, right the way up to the ceiling. You notice as you look over, can you see this bit here? That's like rubble. You don't know where it's come from, but it looks like it's sort of like fallen, or...
Can we see the ceiling?
Yes, yeah. It's about another 7 odd meters above you. So this is
like the part of the ceiling's come away or not?
It could have done. You can see where the ceiling is. Make me a perception roll.
Yeah, 60 out of 61 standing.
Okay, then. So when you look up, you're sort of like puzzled, Gulliver, where this rubble has come from. And you sort of, has it come from the ceiling? And you look up, and on closer inspection, it has come from the ceiling. And there seems to be various holes in the ceiling, and you can look above and sort of like almost like above here, straight ahead, it looks like the original ceiling has given way and formed the rubble on the floor, and it looks like it's almost like look as ash and rubble has piled itself out, and somehow there seems to be some rocks and pumice stone sort of like tentatively holding up the, not coming through, as if it's been wedged quite naturally. It's definitely not a super safe roof.
Right.
You know, it looks precarious either way. I mean, when you look up, you think, ooh, wouldn't want to be under that. Hengist, your corridor turns and then it ends at the end there. I think you can see the end. Yeah, so this here is the end.
Yeah, and there's a doorway north and south.
The doorway north and south. Yeah. Hazra, you don't hear anything from either the eastern corridor or the corridor to the doorway that you've come through. It seems all very silent.
Hazra's in awe of this statue.
Hazra, do you think Do you think perhaps that instead of whatever this goddess's powers, agriculture, water, whatever it might be, if it wasn't just nullified by these desecrations?
Hasbro probably hasn't seen anything as big as this
No.
ever,
This is-
apart
this
from
is
mountains.
a magnificent structure.
She's
What-
quite
what-
naked as
what are you
well, by the way.
thinking? I mean, it's this goddess you said is for harvest and fertility, in a sense.
That's kind of what I'm worried. If an evil entity took over my church of Amriel, it would take the life-giving properties and miracles she performs to cause poison and disease and death.
Oh.
If an agriculture goddess was not just nullified but changed.
You mean like it would bring like pestilence? And I don't know. This is too far fetched for me, Mr. Bartleby. I mean, you are saying that Amriel could be changed and become for all want of a better word, the giver of death.
I saw the darkness, the dark energies of evil gods in this place, and I thought at first that maybe it was just it happened and it was disappearing, but it might be being generated from this place.
I'm trying to follow what you are saying, but it is like it's like a snake. It's slipping from my fingers.
Hazra, I think we're in the snake's den.
You do notice that she
I
has
understand what you mean there.
this beautiful statue, you know, with it's probably naked up the top half, but the her hair is modelled in such a way to sort of like hide.
It's a dress.
Yeah, that hides the important bits.
But why would they? I understand what. Well, I think I understand what you're saying. But is that why they would take off the arm and put on the other arms to make it more disfigured? And I seen strange thing with totems on the steps where one tribe would deface another tribe's totems to like insult them and cast down the beliefs. But yeah, I've never seen something of this magnitude.
You're right. It's like the totems. I'm worried. We need to get out of here as soon as we find what we're looking for. And Bartleby's going to hurriedly walk towards Gulliver. Yeah, I'm hoping Hazard follows.
I'm literally one step behind, my friend.
Okay, so there's doing normal procedure. Which one do you want to go to? Do you want to do it like you did the other ones? One Hazra going to north or south, and Henger's going to north and south, and Gulliver in the middle.
Gulliver's going to do something a bit different. That when he gets into the middle, he wants to be sort of like looking. His attention wants to be on the balcony, as if he's worried that something's going to come over it.
Okay then. So Hazra, are you going, or Hengist, are you going north or south?
Hengist will continue going south.
Yeah, I'll just follow Angus's lead and do the opposite to what he's going to do.
Okay, so if you move yourself up to the north, one, and then Bartleby, where would you want to be?
I would just follow around the corner and walk, just keeping behind them. And since I'm the rear guard now, I'll be checking behind every couple seconds.
Okay. Yes, Hazra.
My main worry here is that Bartleby is being left on his own like this. So Bartleby,
he's got a good perception though, and he's got the shield of Amriel as well. I always imagine that it's almost. Do you remember if you haven't played Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, I presume it's in 5e. Do you remember Wall of Forces? That is, as you say, something comes around the corner, I'll put up a wall of force. It's just I remember that so clearly. Or was it pass wall? That always sounded like you were going to the toilet. You know, I've just passed a wall. But it was meant to walk through walls, wasn't it? But you could actually put it underneath somebody so they fell through. Okay then. So Bartleby in his protecting the rear here. Let me tell you what you can see in both your rooms. Okay, Hazra, I'll do yours first. This room, it's quite big. I think you can see to about there. It actually goes further. You check round the corner, and I'm just going to move people up like this, so you can sort of like see in. So what this appears to be like is, it appears to be almost like one of those small ceremony places. It's as if is that, yeah, I just couldn't see whether or not your torchlight was working, Bartleby. There seems to be just above that 7, well, we'll say where round that 7 is, there seems to be a replica of the temple statue, but it seems to be a lot smaller, i.e. it fits in the room. You notice that its feet are on the pedestal up to its knees, but then it looked like it's been broken off at the knees, and she sort of like is lying down to one side. You also notice that the head on this one is missing altogether, and the arms are missing as well, but there's been an attempt to add things to it, rather like the big statue. You also see that it's sort of like lying down on one side, and it's had sort of like its stomach carved out very crudely. Looks
that was my next question.
Yeah, just looks like it's just been whacked out, and you can see that it's all burnt there. You can see that there seems to be some kind of bone-like stuff in that hole. You're not too sure what it is, but getting closer and doing either survival or I think, does Bartleby have medicine?
No, just first aid and healing.
Healing's
my professional.
Yeah, so you could probably decide what it is by having a closer look, not touching it. You also notice that there's 2 very crude bronze braziers on either side. They look like they've had some metal bronze pot in it, and like not like a proper pot, but more like a bowl placed onto like 3 tripod sticks, and it looks like there's some ashes or something in there. I'll have a think about it, and then I'll come back to you what you guys want to do. I'll just explain what Hengist and Gulliver can see down the bottom. So you can probably see that there's a corridor here. Can you see that? It's not actually a corridor. This is a passageway that goes right the way down. This is a wall, so you can't see over into the outside. The temple below there is actually a straight wall. You notice that in the first 2 rooms, both this one and this one, it seems to be some kind of archive. There seems to be a lot of these tablets that you've seen before, Gulliver. There's a whole load of runes on them. There seem to be some that have been smashed and probably beyond repair. There's some that are very clear. You're sort of like looking at these runes thinking, what, it's almost like sparked off that curiosity in your head, and it just seems to be like you can see the chaos rune now and again, and the fertility rune. You can also see some of the runes that you saw in the previous one. These don't look like they've been practiced on, though. These
and all on tablets.
Yeah, clay tablets. There's no paper at all. Just to let you know, you can actually, if you probably 1 or 2 will fit into your backpack, depending how many items you got for your load of 20.
How are they arranged? Are they sort of like stacks of the
Yeah, they're like dominoes piled up, so they're not on the wall or anything. They're literally all piled up
on the floor.
Yeah, it's sort of like lined up. And just to let you know, I'll just move you because you're likely to check. Can you see there's another one full there?
Mm-hmm.
And another one full there? And
Right.
another one full there?
And do there seem to be any order? Are they all the same in a stack?
There seems to be they're not single runes in the stack. They're definitely, or think of them as Egyptian hieroglyphics. So they're obviously communicating something or telling you something, but what? I mean, you can pick out 2 runes that you know, and a whole load of runes from the other place. You know, those practicing. You see those now and again, but literally, it just seems to be stacked up.
Okay, but looking at the stacks, how many stacks is in this room? Like 3 or 4 stacks of them, or more?
More. There's about 6 along this wall.
Right.
6 separate, and within each sort of like stack, there must be between 5 or 10 tablets.
Okay, but say looking at the 2 stacks closest to him, is the first rune on top different on each one?
No, if anything, there seems to be almost like a title tablet. The one at the front just seems to have 3 or 4 runes that are really big and nothing else. But then as you flip through, and these are quite heavy, to flip forward, you just see that the runes get smaller. You take a guess that it might be almost like Chinese characters or hieroglyphs going down the page. But it's quite obvious for you that this is the archive of this place.
But apart from a couple of runes that he recognises, the rest he recognises some from the previous rooms.
Yeah.
Some from the map that he originally.
Are you spending some time to actually look at any in detail? It just requires you to roll your literacy skill to see where. But I just need to know, because it's not a difficult thing to do. It's just that it will take you time.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to turn to Hengist and he's going to say, Hengist, I need to study these for a bit more. I think they could hold an answer to something. What it is, I don't know. And he'll start studying them and seeing what he can.
Okay, then. So if you,
I'll use my last point of luck to change that over to a 16.
16. Say again, sorry.
16 out of 51.
Okay, yeah. Okay then. So you managed to read or scan down two sort of like sets. This is probably happening. We'll come back to Hazra and Bartleby in a second, and you can tell me what else you're doing, and you, Hengist, as Gulliver's doing this. One of them, you spend some time looking at, and you manage to piece together that it seems to be talking about chaos, and it seems to be talking about worshipping, and it seems to be talking about sacrifices and children and something quite grotesque like that. The other one is completely different. The first one was all about religion. This one seems to be more about, well, it's hard to think. It's actually about, you're not too sure at this point, but it seems to be about farming methods, about when to plant crops or something like that. But it doesn't look familiar, a familiar farming method to you. Hengist, what would you like to do? Are you planning on standing and keeping guard over Gulliver, or exploring? Where would you like to go?
Hengist would have had a quick check around the room to make sure that there was no other sort of like windows or doors or anything. And then other than that, he'll then be standing guard over the room, but within sight of. So he's looking. He's got his back to Gully, and he's looking at the doorway, but he's trying to keep an eye on the other two as well.
So are you staying where you are, or are you moving up to the doorway?
Sort of there-ish.
Okay then. So Hazra and Bartleby, you're in this fallen statue. What would you guys like to do?
Hazra's going to turn to Bartleby and says, "Look, Bartleby, they've scooped out the womanhood from this statue. It seems like they've removed as you said, the fertility, because that is where a woman grows a baby." And they're taking it out of the statue. This is the
Bartleby. You suddenly get this feeling that Hazra's giving you a bird and bees, a midwifery course. So this is.
Do you see what I mean? They're literally scooped out like a Mr. Softy.
Bartleby is just going to stare at Hazra like Hazra's trying to tell a joke at a very, very terrifying time and space. No. And without saying anything, I'll just walk towards the statue. You said that I might be able to determine what the bone substance is if I get closer?
Yeah, roll your healing is probably the best one for it.
Could I assist him with first aid?
Yes, by all means. Just augment it, so just add 20%
if you
to
add
it.
10 to that then.
Adding 10. All right, let's see what knowledge can give us.
Ooh, lots. Okay then, I'll give you extra bits now. Right, so the first thing that you know for definite is that it's actually fragments of bone, and those bones are human, definitely. It definitely looks like they were burnt. Whether or not... you got a critical. They weren't defleshed before they were burnt, if that makes sense. There's also in here, you can see that there's fragments of skull and also teeth, human teeth as well.
Can I ask, is it the bone size? Is it like arm bones, like an adult arm bone, or is it like fingers?
You can tell from the thickness, because you got a critical success as well. The thickness is probably maybe teenager. They're all snapped and broken, but you don't think it's like a hefty guy who's from battle. They don't look that well formed at all. It doesn't look a very happy sight. If I said if this was Call of Cthulhu, you would be rolling a sanity roll.
Oh yeah, definitely.
How about the teeth? Are they big teeth or little teeth?
Human teeth.
Human teeth.
Well, this is bad, Ezra. We need to collect our friends, and you need to make haste.
I think so. But what are these two? These two lanterns to either side. The braziers.
They probably serve ceremonial purpose when this was a functioning temple to a reasonable goddess.
I understand. Yes.
But if the two pointy-eared people were searching after angle faces, and there was a chalice in here or something, wouldn't they have taken it, or still be here? I'm beginning to wonder why we're down here in the dark.
Well, Bartleby, don't worry about the dark, my friend. I know. I have fears, and the best thing with fears is to overcome them. And you're a strong person. I believe in you, Bartleby. We need to still push on, because even if they've taken the chalice from this room, we still need to find out where they have taken it to. This is to save your life, my friend. So let us keep pushing forward. Be strong. And I'll give him a reassuring pat on the shoulder.
Very nice.
I feel
And a hug.
reassured a
And a
little bit.
kiss.
Don't know about the kiss, but let's move on.
Okay, so something is about to happen. So this happens just as everybody's finishing their actions. So everybody is where they are, and Hengist, you're the first person to see it. As you are stood slightly away from the doorway, you suddenly notice a head, and the head appears sort of like round the corner like that. You can see that it's actually you think this was once a person. It seems to be on all fours, hands on the ground, feet on the ground, and it almost like comes in and sort of like, it seems to be blinking its eyes. Its eyes are quite bloodshot and not looking the best at all, and it seems to be carrying in one of its hands a spade. From its attire, you figure it's probably one of the miners. Just to let you know that it looks like he's very green. It looks like he's has several scratches all over his face. His hair's all matted. His arms, it looks like he's been washing up to his elbows in blood. It's not wet still, but it's just sort of like caked on there, and you can see it's all connected to his chest and everything like that. And he sort of like comes around and he seems to blink with the light, and at that point he sort of like lets out what could only be called a high-pitched screech, and we will roll some.
Is it like the body snatcher screech?
Yes, I have never seen the body snatchers, but
there we go.
Neither have I, but that's a very good scream.
But that sort of screen. So please don't forget to add on your click on your tokens before you do anything. I just need to find out what mine is.
Yeah, lowest roll.
Okay.
Oliver is the ninja.
Four.
I got my maximum.
Nice.
Okay,
Nice one.
let's move.
Oh,
Right.
God, I don't need to-
Can you see that turn order? I'm trying to put it within the light so you can see it. But
Yes.
yeah. So we'll.
Are we going now, or are we going on 14 when Hengist sees it and it?
No. The screech alerts you all to it. So this is now. Everybody is acting. So Gulliver, Gulliver, you will probably, part of your action will be to turn round. Hazra, you and Bartleby will have to do that to actually see it, but I just thought I would just tell you all what it looks like straight off. So I'm just going to move that out there. I know you can't see it, but I can. Okay then, so Gulliver, you go first on 22, so you're probably kneeling down and hear this screech. What would you like to do?
Going to spin round, probably knocking over the closest pile of tablets as he spins. Seeing it in the doorway, will he have time to start to cast a spell? At one of his cantrips, a quick cast.
Yeah.
So he wants to. He'll see it, and he'll. Remembering the stories that the miners told, and the miner that we rescued, and about the terrible things that these things down here dead, he's going to point to it and with his fingers, 2 fingers crossed, and he'll quickly say the words "Eret" as he casts this spell with a standard 39 out of 72.
Okay, so that's endurance, isn't it?
Yeah.
It makes his endurance roll, but you have the highest roll, so he will take 1 level of fatigue as it takes an impact on him. Hazra, you're next.
Hazra will spin around and see this thing. He'll be a little bit shaken with his spear in his hand. He'll use a free action to say to Bartleby, "Stay behind me. There's a goblin or something out there." And with that, he'll shift just slightly down here.
Okay.
Get a better view of it.
Yeah, cool. And then Hengist, you're up.
Hengist is running at this thing. He's going to try and get into combat as quick as he can.
Okay, so you'll step into combat, so that'll be your movement as you go in. And Mutant goes next. So yeah, it's sort of like you were probably closer in any case. So it sort of like looks at you as you come towards it, and he seems to almost like rock back on its legs slightly and grabs hold of its spade. And just sort of like takes this almighty swing at you. And gets, let me just see what its spade attack is. What a wonderful skill to do. Nobody's ever asked me for spade attack.
Maybe it's the ace of spades.
Yeah. Yeah, so you sort of like step in and you can see this spade coming towards you. It will hit you.
Okay, so seeing this spade coming in, he's going to raise his shield up to block it.
Okay, cool.
Succeeds on a 24.
I succeeded on a 33, so I think I have the highest. My spade is medium, by the way.
So my shield is a medium as well.
A medium, so therefore you take half damage, I think it is. Is that right? Or do you block
I think
it
so,
all?
yeah. Hang on, what does it say on your shield?
I'm not sure about the...
No, that's just here.
I've got it here.
I think it is half.
You're defending it with medium. It will. If they're the same, then it will stop
damage.
all the damage. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, then it's only when there's a difference. Okay, then so it sort of like wheels this spade at you, and it clatters onto your shield, doing... You don't need to do anything with this. I just want you to show you the force that it hits as it comes round. It whacks you, and your shield absorbs the damage, and it takes about 10 points of damage. You don't take it off your shield, it's just blocked, but you do feel the almost like the steel edge sort of whack onto your shield as it does quite a significant blow.
Probably have a fair old size bruise on his forearm.
Yeah, most definitely. And that's his action done. And Bartleby, you're up.
Hearing the suggestion of goblins from Hazra, Bartleby is going to move behind to position himself so that he would be within touching range of Hazra, while also having a vantage point to see what's going on in the hall.
Yeah, and move away.
So about like right there.
Okay, so let's now move into combat turn 2. We're still in combat round 1. So Gulliver.
Can Gulliver still see this thing through the doorway?
It's going to be hard now if you're going to try to cast it. Are you trying to cast it?
I'm going to try to cast a spell.
Yeah, so instead of being a standard roll, it'd be a hard one now because of where everybody actually is. Now, that's not actually true, because I think you can actually cast a spell. Yeah, no, if you know where something is but you can't see it, then the difficulty raises by 1, but you can still cast it. That's what it is. Yeah,
Right.
so it'd be a hard. So
Okay,
you can actually cast a spell on somebody who's, if you know somebody stood behind a door, you can actually cast the spell at them if you know where they are, but can't see them. Yeah.
Do I need both hands free to spellcast, or can it just be done with one? I think it can just be done. You've got to have at least one hand.
Yeah, you must be able to move freely and to vocalize. So if you were tied up, you can't do it.
Right. I want to put the torch down. I want to put it down. I don't want it to go out, so I'm going to put the torch down.
Okay then. So that will be your action then, because dropping it is a free action.
Right. But if I dropped it, there would be a chance that it. What's on the floor?
It's just like normal floorboards.
I'm going to drop it. I'm going to drop it and start casting my spell.
Okay, and if you let me know which spell you're casting, that'd be
So the
fantastic.
spell I'm casting is that. It's going to take me 2 turns.
Two turns.
And
Okay.
I'm concentrating on the actual shovel. I want to
Okay, got you. Yeah.
grab it, pull
Uh,
it from its hands
yeah.
into.
So this will happen on your final turn of the round, won't it? Because you have 3 actions. Yeah. So Hazra, we're up with you.
As we've seen that Hengist is in combat, he's going to place his foot firmly on the floor, aim and throw his spear into the goblin,
Melee.
into the
Yeah.
melee. Yes.
Okay then.
Into the back of Hengist's head
Yeah.
or shoulder, as done previous.
Yeah.
No, it's not happened before, has it?
Roll away.
Oh, not with you. Not with you.
Not today, my friend. Not today.
Yes. So the guy there, he won't have seen it sort of like heading his way. So you've got 2 crits, one which would be a special. So I need crits, hit location, and damage.
Okay, my first crit will be choose location.
Okay.
My special crit will be bypass armor.
Okay. Cool.
And my damage will be short spear. Oh, look, yeah, choose location, sorry, will be head.
Okay. Yeah.
My damage will be 3.
So that's. Am I right in thinking that bypass armor?
Oh, bypass armor. Yeah, if I naturally go up in the armor, picks 1 natural.
That you need to decide whether or not you want to bypass, because it's stackable. So you can either bypass natural armor or bypass any armor that it's wearing.
Yeah. So worn or magical. Worn or natural.
Yeah, worn or natural.
Yeah, basically it'd be worn armor in that case then.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So 3 points to my head, did you say?
I wish I'd done max damage now, thinking back, but anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, such is life.
Okay, 3. Yeah. So this spear, you also like stood there, Hengist, about to fire. This spear comes whistling through the door, and it sort of like hits the monster's, the mutant's head, as it sort of like goes down. It's not impaled in it or anything, but it certainly put a nasty cut in the monster's head. That would have been excellent to do impale on that.
No, I know.
Then the monster goes shing, like, and uses it as a new weapon.
Takes that Hengist.
Yes. Hengist, you're up.
So Hengist is having blocked it with his shield, having had this spear thrown at it. He's going to punch out with his shield to try and bash it. That's his plan.
Okay, cool.
He wants to try and knock it on the floor, and he fails.
Yeah. Okay, so you sort of like whack it, try to whack it with your shield, and but obviously this creature sort of like backed away just as it's been hit, and then it uses its next action point to attack you again.
I wonder why the 100's not bold anymore on the roll 20.
To what, sorry?
So I wonder why the 100 isn't bold anymore, because it used to be, didn't it, on the rolls?
Oh, on the Great Hill 100, yeah, it used to be.
No idea.
I don't know.
It will hit with a 53 out of 65.
I have no action points.
Okay, so this will be it'll be your hit location first. This comes into your 16.
Left arm.
And this will be that one.
You're not passively blocking.
3,
No.
4.
No, because he punched out with his shield.
4, 3, 4, 5, 6 points of damage altogether. So armor will reduce that as usual, and then the rest will be taken.
Okay.
And Bartleby, you're up to you.
Did you say 6 points? Sorry, Inwils.
Yes, 6 points.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it how much is stopped by armor? All 6?
No. One goes through.
Okay, cool. Bartleby, you're up.
I'll reach out and touch my unarmored cohort and cast a prayer on him for Amriel to protect him from dangers and infections and all sorts of horrible things that'll happen if he gets cut by this thing that is not a goblin. And I'd like to use my free action to kind of note you're really stretching the definition of a goblin by
Yeah. Okay, so that will put protection. Yeah, that works, doesn't it? That puts protection onto Hazra. Oh, sorry, Hazra. It's so big, it's just sort of like blocking out your hull.
I have that problem.
And that's end of turn 2. So we it's going on to turn 3. Gulliver, your spell comes off now, doesn't it?
Okay, yeah. So he can resist this with whatever you want.
It's an evade roll, isn't it? And I don't have any action points left.
Well, let's see whether or not I get my. Oh no, just knock my magic points off.
Okay, so you try to sort of like summon it to you, but you can't seem to get the magic working, or the spade moves at the last time as it whacks into Hengist, nothing happens. Anybody else still got action points left?
I do.
Cool.
I'll be drawing my scimitar.
Okay, and you can draw your scimitar, and I think that's it then, isn't it? So we'll now go to round 2. Turn 1, and we're back to you, Gulliver.
Gulliver will start casting the exact same spell that he was just casting.
Cool. Hazra, you're up.
I'm going to move to, and I can feel the power of Amriel now coursing through me. I've felt this before. I have protection.
I feel invincible.
Yes. I feel the need to kill. So I will move into combat.
Cool. And Hengist, you're next.
So Hengist is going to try and attack it with the sword, now that he sees that this thing is surrounded. Succeeds on a standard with a 68.
Okay, let me just refresh my action points. So that will hit. So I need special hit location damage.
Special will be bleed, and hit location is head.
Head, okay. I need some damage.
And damage is, make sure I roll the right one. 6.
6. Okay, yeah, you sort of like whack it with your sword. You would have expected it to do more damage than it is. And you suddenly notice that this miner's head seems to be covered with some kind of leather a thick skin, and it's a lot thicker than human skin. You do manage to penetrate it, but normally that would have done a huge amount of damage on a human head, but not so much on this one. I'll just roll my my percentile dice now for my bleed at the end, and then I know whether or not it's going to come on off or not. He fails that, so he'll put his bleed on once at the end of the round, and everything increases by 1. Okay, it's me now. Yeah, 1 level. Yeah, me left. So this is my first action point going off. 58. Hang a minute, I just need to check, because the other one was rather obvious that it wasn't. It would have succeeded, but I need to make sure that this one not sorcery spells. I've got a lovely I've got one of those sheets that I just type in the number and it tells me what all the crits are, but I can't seem to find it. Dice rolls, here we go. Skill score is 65. So hard a B. Yeah, that he misses with his swing, and that's a miss. So we go on to Bartleby.
Bartleby will just spend his turn giving a thanks to Amriel for casting her light so far underground and watching the battle.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so we're top of the round and we're into round 2, turn 2. Gulliver, your spell had come off.
Okay. Well, I'm at hard, aren't I? Yeah. So.
Why are you at hard?
Because I thought it was because it's in. Because he can't see it properly.
Oh yeah, you can see it. You can see it better now because that combat is probably really obvious.
Yeah. So during the last round, couple of turns, Gulliver's had this glowing ball of water that he's been summoning, and then he's just going to sort of almost like throw it out. It's going to disappear, and he almost like makes a yanking movement back, and he's going to try to yank the shovel out of the thing's hand.
Cool.
Through the doorway. Hopefully missing Hengist, but if it hits him, Gulliver. It's
all right.
Just needs to disarm it.
Yeah, so that succeeds. So the mutant will try to do its because it feels it tugging at it. So I think it's going to quite naturally sort of like try to hold on to it, but it is at double difficulty. So unless it gets a really 14, it's not a crit. It does survive. It does manage it, but yours is higher.
Right.
So it actually gets pulled off out of him. So he's now weaponless, and
so he yanks it through the doorway, and sort of like as it comes through, he catches it.
Yeah, and it just sort of like whizzes past Hengist's head at that point. And Hazra, you see the spade disappear out of this miner's hands, and it's your turn to go.
Hazra's seen this before, and he has a sidelong glance to Gulliver, and an appreciative smile, and with that he'll lunge in to this monstrosity and take a strike.
Yeah, that will hit. So he's got no action points left, so he can't defend. He's not actually up for defending in any case, only resisting. So I need hit location, special hit location damage.
Yep. So I forgot. I actually had it in mind, but I forgot what it's called. Press advantage, if I could, please.
Yep.
and location will be his 4, which will be his left leg.
Yep, then do some damage for me.
Damage will be 3.
On his left leg. Yeah, you sort of like whack it with your scimitar, but it doesn't seem to penetrate. It's sort of like it's thick armor down there at all. So it goes down to you, Hengist.
Okay, so Hengist is going to hit almost simultaneously to this creature with his sword. So he succeeds with a 26.
Yeah. Hit location, special hit location damage.
Special is going to be. Already done plus advantage, which is the one I was going to do. He is going to try and impale this thing with his sword.
Okay then. So impale then. I need hit location first. Left arm.
Left arm?
Yeah.
And then you want 2 dice rolls.
Yeah.
One is 9, one is 8, so he'll take the 9.
9 in his left arm. So that I'd take it down to that, which will... And left arm, which is... that. Yeah, so now that's caused a significant wound on him, so he just needs to roll his endurance now, and his they're now but hard and formidable now, aren't they? Because the bleeds on him as well. So he fails that, and his left arm sort of like he can't seem to. It's sort of like it's broken. It's hanging off. It looks pretty manky. 13. He can't actually attack due to your press advantage, Hazra, and so it comes to 11. Bartleby.
Bartleby is going to use his action to move up and get a better view of the combat, giving Hazra enough space so that when Hazra swings back or moves back, I'm not going to get slashed in the face.
Okay. Gulliver, you're up.
Gulliver's going to not be able to do much whilst he's in the car. He's going to take up a defensive position with this shovel.
Yeah, because you need to...
just in case it breaks through.
Got you. Yeah.
Going to get ready to. He's going to sort of like get it into sort of like a swinging position.
In preparation, yeah. Hazra, you're up.
Hazra will take a swing again.
That's a hit. So
Okay,
special hit location damage.
Special, we choose location. Hazra's noticed the bleeding on his head from where his spear hit him.
Yeah, very much so.
Head hit. And damage will be 4.
4. That sort of like glances off its thick skin there, but it's a good idea to hit him there because he does, from where your spear is, which actually did go through. Hengist, you're up.
So is Hengist's sword still impaled in the arm?
Yes, if you impaled it.
I did. So Hengist is going to use a brawn roll to attempt to free the sword and do half of damage as he takes it out.
So
use a point of luck and reverse that, please.
Okay then. Yeah. So you use your point of luck and pull it out.
So that's because it's not including damage modifier, so that's 4 points of damage as it comes out.
4 points. Yeah, so that arm is already sort of like totally injured. So you sort of like pour it out, and it just seems to sort of like it's totally useless. And this beast sort of like turns around and swings round with its right arm. It hasn't got its spear anymore, so it's going to swing its unarmed combat at you to see whether or not it can hit it. Oh. Oh, you can't see it.
We can't see them.
No.
You could be making anything up.
No, well, you'll be able to look back on it. I got a 4.
Ooh.
50, 48. 48. If he's 48, then would that be a crit?
Yes.
What did you get? A 4?
Yeah, and it's 48. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's a crit. It's coming at you, Hengist, because that's who he's been fighting. So he'll do a
I'm
crit.
just trying to remember if I've got action points left or not. I think I've got 1 left. Should have 1 left.
Okay, then. So if you've got an action point left, then you
So
can use
I'm
it.
going to attempt to parry.
Okay, cool.
As
Go
you've
for
got
it.
a critical. Nope.
No, okay then. So he'll use a bypass armor,
Mm-hmm.
and then he will do. He'll choose location as well. So a bypass armor and choose location, and he's sort of like. He's got one arm dangling down by his side, and he just sort of like launches his other hand straight at your throat and head as it sort of like leaps out to try to hit you as much as he can. That would be... rolling 1d2. That would be 7 points of damage altogether.
Okay, so that brings Hengist down because he's bypass armor to -1.
-1. So therefore, the first thing you need to so that would be a serious wound now. So you need to roll your you cannot attack now or start to cast, but you can parry and evade. But you need to roll your endurance against my original attack. So my original attack is at 4. No. Therefore, you failed. So therefore, you he sort of like reaches out and he gets that gap underneath between your helmet and the top of your throat, and he sort of like whips it down, and you feel his almost like inhuman fingers grab your neck, and there's a shooting pain that goes through you, and you collapse unconscious on the floor. Can you just roll number of minutes? I could do that.
I thought because you got higher, that'd be a
No, I had to get a critical because I was
Oh,
rolling.
I see. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's critical that changed it. Sorry.
Yeah,
So I
that's
had
right,
to get
yeah.
5 or 6.
Managed to get through that gap where his shield would have been if he was passively blocking.
Passively blocking.
If just out of interest, if your ward location, and the ward location was head, one of the areas was head, then even if you parry, I would have.
the damage.
Say again, son.
Would it reduce the damage?
Yeah, it would have literally hit the shield rather than anything else.
Yeah, I remember eventually ago when I was hitting somebody in the warding location.
Yeah.
Every time I hit, it did nothing.
Yeah, and it just takes a free action within the round. So
I know I decided not to
Bartleby,
because he was attacking with his shield.
Bartleby, you're up.
I don't have any more actions this round, right? Because I thanked on my first, and then I moved on my second.
Yes. Well, this is turn 2. So you've only had one turn this round.
Oh. Then I'm mildly confused. I don't see a reasonable way that I could slip past Hazard, do I?
No, not at the moment.
Okay, then I'm going to keep an eye on Hengist, because that's my priority once a gap magically
Cool.
appears anywhere.
Okay, so now we're at turn 3, so it's anybody who's still got any actions left. Gulliver
charges with shovel.
So you move up. Yeah.
Yeah, take up a defensive position over Hengist as he just swings. He won't get that.
Batter ready.
Excellent.
Actually, I don't. Oh no, I do. Yes.
Hazard, do you have any actions left?
Yep. What Hazard will do with his final action point, he's seen Hengist fall. He is disheartened. He's going to take another swing at this thing because the bloodlust is flowing through him now. As he's swinging, he'll hold on to his necklace and he'll swing. Yes.
Yeah, that's a hit. So you have special hit location and damage, please.
Choose location, which will be head.
Yeah, and do some damage for me.
Oh, please do some damage.
Nice. Is that 6?
That is a 6.
Yeah.
I can make it a 9 if you turn upside down.
I'm not going to turn anything upside. I got to make an endurance roll. What was your original?
Original was 34.
And mine's 28. So you will win that. And your blow to this this creature's head. So you see Gulliver rushing in, wielding a spear, going like this to protect Hengist, and you sort of like see him coming out the corner of your eye, and you sort of think, "Not on your Nelly, Gulliver," and you just go like this and slice through the almost like across the miner's face, and you see sort of like gunge coming out of it, and Gulliver sort of like runs in as this thing is about to fall, and Gulliver gives it a quick hit that's doing nothing, but unless you just want to stand over.
Well, even if it drops, Gulliver is going to just swing the shovel,
yes,
just to see whether or not
you're hitting Hengist. Stop.
Yeah, cool. So
because it's a weapon that's substantially different from anything that he's ever wielded before.
Yeah, and you just sort of like start to, you'll probably come this side and just sort of like start pummeling this. It's got quite a thick skin, this miner, but you manage to just sort of like whack it several times. And Bartleby,
seeing what's happened with Hengist, his last move, his last bit, Azra will shout, "Bartleby, Hengist needs your help." And then I will move.
I thought he had lost.
Sorry.
But I've used my Cure Light Wound spell up.
Can I? I'm assuming out of combat, so I can move out the way. So
yes, we're out of combat now.
Yeah,
so.
Brilliant.
Barleby is rushing to Hengist to
Cool.
lay on
is Russian.
Goddess, if I may.
Yeah.
Let Amriel reveal,
you can
of course,
take,
that this is all...
You could take minutes. Hengist without healing is actually out for 7 minutes. Can you imagine how many 7 minutes is in combat?
Oh, God, it's like forever. Never-ending story.
Point of luck to reverse.
Yeah, okay then. So this is your heal wound. So provide injury no more severe than serious, which it is. And do you return it to full hit points? So yeah, tell me how that manifests itself, Bartleby.
Barley shuffles in and puts his hands on Hengist's shoulders and does the prayer of Amriel revealing the truth. And in this case, the truth is that the injury was much less than you thought. That your body was reacting in a more
nice.
Wild way. The light of Amriel glows from Barleby onto Hengist, and hopefully Hengist returns.
Yeah, and Hengist, your hit location, your head will be back up to maximum hit points as the power of Amriel sort of like cauterizes the wound and stops it, and re-heals the skin, so there's sort of like a pinkish pink scar where the two fingers try to grab round your trachea and sort of like squash it, and it's just sort of like you actually come round with Bartleby stood over you.
Oh, that was. Thank you, Bartleby.
Amriel revealed that it was merely a light injury.
I thought you were going to say, "Don't thank me, thank Amriel." I am just a vessel. I am just a vessel. Right, guys, that seems to be an appropriate time to leave it. Your protection will wear off before next time. Luck points will replenish, but there'll be no downtime between this one and the next adventure, so no magic points unless you would like to sleep there.
No.
Yes, right here.
Yeah, right there. So we'll pick it up from next Saturday, if everybody's around to play, when Bartleby heals Hengist and he comes round and everybody is ready to...
See Gulliver stood over the thing, shovel in hand, with his two daggers.
Called Foe Slayer and Havoc Wrecker.
And while he's asleep, Hazra will get his shield and he'll passively ward himself.
Yeah.
Does Gulliver have a name for the spade now then?
No.
Yeah, when Hengist was asleep, you noticed that Bartleby was sort of like praying, but you also noticed that he's put a bit of charcoal and drawn a monobrow across.
Stash across his face. Yeah.
Wow, it would be across the helmet. Yeah.
So now when when Hengist puts his visor down, it's got a mustache on it.
Amriel's power.
Cost. Glasses.
Yeah. Excellent. Does anybody have any announcements that they would like to give?
I'm good.
No, I'm good, thank you.
None over here.
Fantastic. So I hope you enjoyed watching tonight's session here as we play some Mythras. Starting next week, the players will continue their quest down into the Temple of the Chaos Mother and hopefully find chalices and whatever and escape alive. I think that's the interesting thing at the moment. Just remember how many miners and stuff were down here, and then you can get excited about that in between. Thanks, Justin. I appreciate it. Thank you to Easy Prey too.
Thanks, Justin.
Justin said thanks for the game, guys, and Easy Prey 2015 subscribed as a tier 1. He's now subscribed for 12 months, which is absolutely fantastic. Thank you to Life in Pain as well, who said great fun in the chat as well.
Hi, Life. Life's in my
life.
Yeah. So if you've enjoyed it, then please consider coming back next week to see how the party get on, whether or not we can all survive, or whether or not the Chaos Mother. We have a TPK. Is that right?
Little party kill.
Yeah.
Or team player kill.
Team kill.
So until then,
if the
unless it's
Total party
this other group, in which case it's a TPC. Team player.
Oh right.
No!
Okay, guys, thank you so much. Thank you to my players for coming along tonight, and thank you to you to coming along watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Sleep well. It sounds like Crime Watch, doesn't it? And remember, sleep well. Oh no, well, it's not Crime
But not
Watch.
too well.
What is it? What's that thing with that Fielding woman?
About Fielding?
Ghost Hunter.
Is it Ghost Hunter?
Hunter, yes.
Yeah, and she just sort of like goes, it's been a very exciting thing. And then she looks at the camera and says, and don't forget, sleep well. Ha 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 ha. She walks towards camera. Yeah. Excellent. Look after yourselves, guys, and we will see you back here next week, if not before. I'll be streaming ESO tomorrow at 2 o'clock, so do come along and join in and see me get 50th level with my necrotic tank. It's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you for coming along, and I bid you farewell, and so do my players.
Yes.
Adieu.
Adieu, and we'll see you all later. Thanks for coming along, guys. Bye.
Bye.